Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. I cover a wide variety of subjects in this thing, and Candace Owens' latest video that she released after a 2 week hiatus with some new incriminating evidence, and really, it's about how everyone over there, TPSU, and she doesn't say Erika by name, but she has to be the central figure, have Judased Charlie Kirk. So there's all that, and then I have a couple of Whispers of the Brighter World messages I read at the end of this thing. So it's going to be a long video. It's going to be over 3 hours. So I'm not going to put a video up on, this will go up on Tuesday night, and then I won't make a video till Thursday. So I'll skip Wednesday, and then we'll be back, on board with all these other things. Just a lot in here packed in. I can't remember it all. But anyways, it's kind of an epic video, and here it is. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is Monday, October 27th. This video will go up tomorrow. I'm going to start it today. I just read 2 comments to my other video, which I want to get to in short order. Candace Owens is supposed to come back and drop some knowledge, drop some bombshells today. And I'll cover that if it's, there'll be something there at least. So, I want to kind of move away from the Charlie Kirk thing, but it's such a train wreck. So, at the end of my last video, I showed you this, or some portion of the video, where Erika Kirk collapses after hearing the truth. Just 1 hour after the thing, Tyler Robinson finally broke his silence. And then he admits to killing Charlie Kirk and how it affected her and how she broke down and this whole thing. And, I didn't say it was fake. After I was done with the video, I was like, because I got off track, that it was obviously fake. And I didn't even check it out till afterwards. But I have a bunch of these things to do with TPUSA here anyway, so I want to start with this. Accused assassin Tyler Robinson's appears in person in court for the first time. So this happened in Provo, Utah. At least that's where they're having this come out. Shooting and killing political activist Charlie Kirk. The hearing was for the judge to hear from the prosecution and defense on whether Robinson should wear civilian clothes in court or if he's required to wear shackles. You mean shekels, right? I forgot about that. I couldn't wait to... He's going to have to wear shackles because he's such a danger. That makes him look guilty. But he didn't say anything, right? So there was nothing to do with... there's no plea. There's no whatever. Seeing him in a suicide robe, bulletproof vest, and shackles would make it more difficult to get a fair trial. And so there's just that. So there was nothing like that. It was a private hearing. No one was allowed in. There's nothing there for the, whatever. And Erika Kirk isn't there. So, they have these things out there. This is disrespectful to her. Like this, this is making it sound like this, this is pro Erika Kirk. She's so fake and she's such an actress, but still, this thing is completely disrespectful to her, right? It's not, treating her like, whatever, the martyr wife that they, this is just using her as clickbait. And there's a lot of this. So there's been a lot of these things here. The halftime show, there was 3 ads yesterday on Facebook, and I was only on Facebook for about a minute. And just scrolling through, they had 3 of these ads. This is from the Sandler Chronicles. Faith, Family, and Freedom, a national reunited, the stadium lights up. The stadium lights won't be the only thing glowing at Super Bowl night. Jesus Christ. Faith, Family, and Freedom, a nation reunited, the stadium lights won't be the only thing glowing on Super Bowl night. What else is going to be glowing? Led by Adam Sandler. The all-American halftime show, Faith, Family, Freedom, hosted by Erika Kirk, honoring Charlie's legacy. Live opposite the national halftime show, Super Bowl 66. Is it 66? Holy shit. That's a big one, right? So there they are, and there's the stand list, and there's them. So they're pushing this. These are just things that are popping up on my Facebook. Will you watch Turning Point's USA rival Super Bowl halftime show? A nation's history unfolds. 6 legends unite for All-American halftime show. A powerful and patriotic alternative to the Super Bowl 60. Oh, it's not 66, it's 60. Halftime event. Alan Jackson, George Strait, Trace Atkins, Kix Brooks, Ronnie Dunn, and Willie Nelson. But why is Dolly Parton in the picture? Is that Reba McEntire? And so they're exhuming Willie Nelson. I thought the guy was fucking dead. And so it's just all old fucking people, right? And of course Bob Seger is involved in this as well. Terminated. Oh, this is something else. But there's another one. Did I not put that one up there? Let me see if I can find that one. Okay, so this isn't the one I saw yesterday. Look at Bob Seger here. Old as fuck. And all these people are really old that they're pushing out there. It was supposed to be a movement for the youth. But now it's just like old Christian, I don't know, they're pushing for, country music and these other people. Bob Seger was our first choice as Erika Kirk, revealing the headline performer for the upcoming All-American halftime show. But was it just the announcement that stunned fans? I don't know if the other thing's just bullshit with all the country legends. It's only like a 30-minute show, right? It's not until February. Like they're just really pushing this thing. Turning Point is pushing it. They talk about it a lot. But now all these, these pseudo pro Turning Point things trying to make in on it. Cash in on this whole big event. Like Bad Bunny, not everybody watches I don't know how many people watch the halftime show. You can watch it for the commercials. The commercials have gotten worse and worse, the whole Super Bowl. I remember first time someone said, "Hey, where are you watching the Super Bowl this year?" It was like, in October or something. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't think I planned, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. Like, I was in college or whatever. Like, I realized that the Super Bowl is a thing. I knew everybody watched it, but it was really bad at that time. In the 90s when I was in college, the Super Bowl was always a blowout. I remember I was working when Chicago pummeled some, the Chicago 95 Bears. They pummeled some, whoever it was. But there was the 4 times that the Buffalo Bills lost the Super Bowl, which weren't, some of those were competitive. A couple were okay games. But the majority of the games there, the NFC was so much better than the AFC that every year the Super Bowl was won by halftime, like the game was already over. It was like 15 years. And, I only watched a few of them. Like, everyone kind of knew they were blowouts. I worked in an Italian restaurant. There's really Italian girl that worked with me, a woman. She was in her 30s. I was, 23 or 4 at the time. And we worked in teams. And she was telling me how her boyfriend was a bookie. And he left some year the Washington Redskins when they had the Hogs. They had this big offensive line, and they just dominated one of those teams. And she was taking the bets. And the way that you make sure you don't get killed, especially in the Super Bowl, where a lot of people would bet, is you have to move the line. And she kept on moving the line to where she was giving away more points. Washington was giving away, it started off with 10, and she was giving away 14, 15 points. And still she was getting bets on Washington. And Washington blew them out. They won by 30 points. She couldn't have moved the line that much. And they lost $20,000 or something like that or more. 50 maybe, some crazy amount. And they broke up. Her boyfriend was mad at her like it was her fault, but he went on vacation where he was traveling during the Super Bowl and left his girlfriend SB to make decisions, but she couldn't have moved the line that much. And so, they got killed. But anyways, the Super Bowl is just a Super Bowl. It's no big fucking deal. And the halftime show is who gives a shit? There's lots of alternative halftime shows. This isn't the only one. And Bad Bunny is a Spanish-speaking person who's verbalized some liberal views, so they're trying to cash in on this, this big moment. And who gives a shit, right? It's to bring in Hispanic viewers to the Super Bowl. That's what this is about, right? And so, they don't really care if the normal people are not watching it because they want to expand their audience. And so these are just the things I went to look for that one. So these are the things that popped up this morning. A shocking betrayal. Dave Chappelle exposes rift between Candace Owens and Erika Kirk in a relationship that left fans stunned. Dave Chappelle claims Candace Owens was kicked out of Charlie Kirk's funeral by widow Erika Kirk. According to Chappelle, the two women got into a heated argument over the future of Turning Point USA, and Erika allegedly telling Candace, "I don't want you near the memorial. I don't want you on camera." What was this? What was supposed to be a moment of mourning turned out to be a scene of anger and power betrayal. It's showing just how deep the fractures inside Charlie Kirk's legacy may run. So that happened. The View officially replaced with the Charlie Kirk Show on ABC. Hosted by Megyn Kelly and Erika J. Kirk. The View is gone, and ABC's surprising choice of Erika Kirk and Megyn Kelly has viewers reeling nationwide. Television viewers across America are reeling. The View is officially gone. ABC shocked fans nationwide by replacing the long-running talk show with surprising new duo Erika Kirk and Megyn Kelly. Social media erupted as audience tried to process the bold move. This is what they're putting out there. Kid Rock outsells Bad Bunny as Turning Point USA All-American Halftime Show goes fully sold out. The Turning Point USA All-Time Halftime Show, headlined by none other than Kid Rock, is completely sold out. So the people are going to miss the fucking Super Bowl. What are they going to show the Super Bowl on the big screen, and you get to watch it like that in a stadium, and then you have to listen to fucking Adam Sandler and Bob Seger, and is that Bad Bunny on the bottom? Is Bad Bunny a heterosexual dude or not? Because he looks a little bit gay in that picture. So anyways, Kid Rock is a fucking disaster. Like, just because he pretends to be a patriot or pro-Trump. And so this is just where they're going with this. Turning Point USA, I clicked on one thing. He lit a fire, now we can carry the torch. And this must be their official thing. Or maybe some other, whatever. It went to that instead. Look at breaking news. Former racing star Danica Patrick has donated $7 million to Turning Point USA to support the upcoming All-American Halftime Show. Dana Patrick coming through with the money, because they have to have donated money. There's no way they could pull this show off on their own. There's no way they can't get a lot of dumb fucks out there to buy tickets, and they couldn't do without Dana Patrick's $7 million. And so then there was this one here. That's not it. It's here. Terminated. Chicago elementary school teacher Lucy Martinez is fired. She got fired. Remember, she was pointing to her neck, this morbidly obese kindergarten teacher who mimicked Charlie Kirk getting shot in the neck with a bunch of people behind her laughing. Yeah, they didn't like that at her school, and she got pressured out of there. She's fired. Maybe not, because this is just something that... Click now for all the details. And so this is all these people taking advantage of pretending to be Charlie Kirk fans and just making shit up at any cost to get clicks. And the Super Bowl halftime show is making it a lot bigger than, it's just fucking Super Bowl halftime show. Who gives a shit? It's not till like fucking February. It's like people have already moved on to like 8 different things, including World War III, by the time this thing happens. All right, so that's the intro. Let me read those couple of comments here. Okay, so I noticed on my phone these comments came up, and I wanted to get to them because they were pertaining to all this stuff here with Trump. So I taught, my last video was about Trump and the Knesset and how he was just slathering all over Marian Edelson, and he also said that Bibi should get pardoned. And so this person wrote this here. And during that speech, I had covered this before, and I didn't know about the end of the speech where he just praises Marian Ellison for a long time, And he says, I asked her if she liked America, who she loved more, America or Israel, and she wouldn't say. And he was implied that it was Israel. And he was doing that to a pro-Israeli audience, and he was giving her credit for all the stuff that he had done, and how they had affected him and her and Sheldon Edelson, her husband, how they had affected him and kind of owned him. And Sheldon Ellison would say, I need to talk to you. And Trump would say, hey, I'm a president, I'm busy. And Sheldon Ellison would, fuck that, I'd come over. He'd just come over anyway, right? I mean, even just giving him a courtesy call, so that they gave him all this money. She gave Trump $100 million. And, he was saying that they affected his being, said that he was the great, they had an effect on him being called the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House. I mean, he sponsored a genocide and an ethnic cleanse, and anything that Bibi wanted, he gave him. So this is all the stuff that's in the speech. And so this person writes this. That's not the right way. This person writes this. I think you misunderstood. Let me make this bigger. I think you misunderstood Trump's approach here. Bringing up that she loves Israel more than the U.S. is backhanded. Him saying Bibi should be pardoned was a backhanded way of bringing up he needs one. Just saying. Just saying. Just like he said that they have no fucking idea what they are doing. He hates being led around by his crap, but he also had no choice as far as I can tell. He's corrupt as hell, but he likes to call the shots as well, and hates that they only lie. My 2 cents, God bless. Well, your 2 cents is worth nothing, right? Because, if he's doing that, I mean, that's even kind of worse. That's like, a president who has all the power, right? And so if we turn off the faucet on Israel and we say we're not giving you another fucking dime and we're pulling out military support, Israel would basically disappear overnight, right? Like it would, I mean, if America said, hey, we're not supporting you guys anymore, Israel would disappear overnight. They were surrounded by enemies with, good militaries and more money. Like there's money, oil money in that area. Big ass countries with massive populations. Israel has a population of like 10 million people. And so they have a good army, but it's the fact that they're funded and we give them all these weapons and then we do all these other things for them. But without America's support, they can't exist. Everyone kind of knows this, right? Everyone should know this. It's a parasitic relationship. That's why Israel's so hell-bent on making sure they keep that relationship going. It's like a parasite that's about to be ripped out, like it's a tapeworm that's, about to be ripped out, and they have to do everything possible to delude the American people. And that's why all the stuff with the media and all of it, like it's a massive movement to keep America bankrolling them, right? And all this way they got to own politicians. But any American president and the politicians in Washington, D.C. could just shut off the faucet of funds and support and military promises, and Israel would disappear. It can't exist without America. That's all you have to do. And so that's all Trump has to do. He has the power. He has the power to do that, right? And they all know this. The Tucker Carlson, like that piece of shit, but he had that good moment where he was playing clips of, Nikki Haley saying, it's not that Israel needs us, it's that we need Israel. Right? Like she said that as a presidential candidate. It's not that, Israel needs anything from us, and it's we need Israel. We're dependent on Israel. And then the other guy from South Carolina, Nikki Haley, was former governor. But then Lindsey, when are you going to come out of the closet? Graham was, he said, that if we didn't support Israel, God would strike us down and would destroy America immediately. So that's, part of that as well. And I get to another comment about that, right? Biblical prophecy. So, there's those elements, like in the country, and Trump and these people are supposed to lie. They all know. They all know they're owned. They all know they're blackmailed, right? Like I said, if somebody's going to say, well, we're going to kill your family or destroy you with some scandal or whatever they have on you, whatever they threaten you with, or we're going to give you a pile of your own money, we're going to give you back some of your governmental money. These politicians can't steal governmental money directly, but they can give it to another country and then get kickbacks. or a contractor. That's how they make money. They take, they're in charge of the American money where it gets spent, and then they get compensated by where they spend the money. So it's, the Democrats, Republicans, all of them learned this. They all know it. They know it better than us. They know the scam and the deal. They know how to do it. Trump is the number one guy at how to make money off of, he's not like some innovator or visionary, but he can figure out a way to fleece money and grifting. He's good at grifting, right? Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, they took millions. Trump and his family kids took billions, and they're still taking, right? You know, they're much better at it. They're the best grifters the White House has ever had, right? I mean, that's his real claim to fame. Years ago, my wife and I were traveling. It was kind of a pivotal trip. The plan had always been to have some intergenerational family farm, and I always kind of held out some hope for it. That hope has been demolished because, and this was the biggest trip I'm talking about. This is probably around COVID, I would say, 2021, 22, something like that, maybe, post-lockdown COVID, but sometime in there, right? And I realized how much better it was without the kids. Like, it was just, this idea people have empty nests, and, I had some moments of this, like my family, my kids were the center of everything for so long. And I realized, oh my God, so much better without them, right? And, just, that was the beginning of just this realization. Like, it became a whole, this is never going to be anything. Like, the intergenerational family farm, the kids have their own thing going on. And, my family was not, we weren't close. It was just not, my brothers and my brother and sisters and my parents, we weren't that kind of family. And then I realized I wasn't going to have that kind of family either, right? It was just this realization. And on top of that, my son and my daughter acted out, and they did things that were, like, just shitty, that were bad. Sometimes you're given these, like, dreams or these goals, and the goals are, they're meant to get you a certain spot, and then you're supposed to move on to something else. The intergenerational family farm and the homestead and all those things that I did. And, and doing some of it, we're still doing the homestead. This is my fourth attempt as a homestead now. Fourth or fifth, whatever it is. And I've, not attempt, but, learning and growing and doing things. Sometimes if you knew the real reason your soul and God want you to do something, or, part of your plan, you won't do it at first. You have to have some maybe more selfish reason or some thing that's more appealing to you at that time. And so you have to, you might move to a place thinking it's about a job or a significant other, a spouse. You might be dating somebody. It's about something completely different. Like you get lured to a place and you think it's going to go one way and it appears it's going to go that way. It's about that thing, and then it turns out to be something else, right? So things like that happen. But sometimes it's hard to accept, and, I had to accept it. Like, I could see the writing on the wall. It was pretty much dead, but I was, thinking that there might be some point where my kids would be interested in having some intergenerational family farm kind of thing. But, they're just, there was nothing there, right? And so while we were gone, my son took our car, and he took, a car that I had purchased. It was kind of a significant, had some sentimental value because we had just come back to America. And I picked them up when they had visited their mom. In the car, we had this other car that's breaking down. It was a whole kind of thing. And so he took it and he brought it to another state and wrecked it, like totaled the thing. Which, kids do that kind of thing. He had just gotten his license older. He was probably around 20 at the time, 19 or something. And he took it out of state. It was a whole thing, right? And it was a big hassle. It ended up being, a hassle. Of course, like, we had to go back and retrieve the car, and just, it wrecked our, we're traveling and, these kind of things. And, I had this conversation when I got back, and he got a lot better after the conversation. And I said, I'm the only thing that's protecting you from being homeless. You're an adult. You don't have to be here, right? This is, you need to change your fucking attitude, right? And he did, because he had no choice, to do so. And that's the kind of power that Trump has. Trump could go in there and say, this is what we want you to do. But Israel has all these guys by the shekels, right? They've sheckled them up, and they've got them blackmailed. They got them whatever. They've gotten them threatened, whatever they're worried about, assassinations and, former presidents and other things. Like, there's a lot of evidence that Israel had a lot to do with JFK and these other things. And so they have them, right? And so But in reality, if a president was a president and the president had this power that we're supposed to have, and we had power over what other country we gave our money to, right? You know, then Trump wouldn't be in the Knesset like licking taint, right? And so you can say that he's doing these backhanded things, but it's pathetic if he is because it shows him it's like he's talking shit to his boss, because he gets to in this brief moment. But in reality, these motherfuckers own him, right? So that was the first piece. Then there was another comment right after that where the person said, "Man, that's crazy how straight that man. That's crazy how they straight are just taking the land of Palestine." Paul, I know you disagree with the Bible. That's not, you know, what that's not an accurate characterization of what I believe. I know you disagree with the Bible, but all this was foretold a long time ago. The whole world will eventually make war with Israel because of the crap that they pull. God will protect them. I don't agree with what they do, and I think they're an evil empire, but the Bible is correct. It's literally working itself out. Several prophecies are happening. We highly disagree about spiritual happenings, but I still respect your opinion, and you're still my brother. I think Israel sucks and have committed murder against the Palestinians. That wasn't a war. Humans is Hamas is definitely their asset. God bless, buddy. Um, well, first of all, that's not what I think about the Bible. The Bible has some spiritual things in there, and some of the things can be professorial. Being able to be a being somebody that can be a seer of the future, it's not that hard of a thing. All of us have it. We all have moments in our lives where we see the future, and we usually deny it, right? We usually don't want to see it because it's usually something we don't want to see, and so there are people who are, the Muhammad the prophet, like people who are prophets. It's not some higher development. It's barely spiritual. Being able to foresee the future. We're stuck in a third dimensional timeline, and we are third dimensional linear time. But we have our spiritual selves that go beyond that, and we're not allowed to see because we have to go through our lives. No matter how developed you are spiritually, you don't see things the way you see things after you leave planet Earth for a reason. Even the greatest spiritual masters are surprised when they leave planet Earth. They are, they're stunned by things that are the spiritual aspect of things because the truth is withheld from you because it wouldn't be fair. There'd be no reason to live your life here if you could see everything. If you could penetrate beyond the physical realm, like you have to have a body and you have to have physical needs and you have to have attachments to people and places and things and whatever. Like that's part of it. You're supposed to, you can work towards detachment, but there's people who are monks and people who will neglect their physical bodies and sleep on a bed of nails, all that kind of bullshit. In the Sajmark system, that's not correct. You have a material wing and a spiritual wing. You're supposed to have a job. You're supposed to contribute to society. There's no payment for spiritual services in the Sajmark system, not because you can't pay for God or buy God or there's no the second master system Babaji was in New York City, and some kid wanted to give him $50, and he said, "Well, you're giving me God realization, so here's $50, and Babaji says we don't charge fees for our services because what are you going to pay for God? Like if somebody can deliver God to you or can help you find divinity within you, wouldn't that be like beyond any kind of monetary value? Wouldn't God be priceless, right? Like as a commodity, people charge money for God. How can you do that? Like for one, you don't own God. You can't copyright God or trademark God. That's the big problem with the Christian religion and the Bible is they pretend to have some kind of exclusive rights to your path to heaven, which anybody who thinks about it would realize it's got to be bullshit, right? You don't get to choose who goes to heaven or not. You don't get to say. You base it on some bullshit story you've made up because that's just not how it works, right? Everybody has the right to connect to God anytime they want. You can be the worst person in the fucking world, and you can turn it around, right? People turn it around all the time. There's stories in the Bible, St. Paul being the biggest one, people who were pieces of shit, persecuting Christians, and then he went and became, basically the figure that saved Christianity, right? And so people have their moments. People have their, come to Jesus moments, and that come to God moments, and anybody can have that. And it's not, it's not excluded because of some. It's not exclusive to some religion, right? And because you want to believe. This is what I was saying earlier about sometimes you're led around and to seeing things, and you distort things to support not wanting to see the truth. And so if there are some biblical prophecies that come true, that doesn't mean the whole rest of the book is validated. And a lot of the things, you could prophecy. I mean, is it really that hard to prophesize that Israel is going to piss everybody off? Right? Is it really that hard to prophesize that this group of people are going to be targeted in some way because of their behaviors and the way they treat other people or whatever it is, right? I mean, it's in the book itself, right? It's in the book itself how they view other people, the goy, and these things. So it isn't like a real prophecy. Like you could say that about anybody. Like it's like saying, Kanye West is gonna. I prophesize that Kanye West is gonna say some outrageous shit. Oh my God, this guy can see the future. I mean, it's not that hard to prophesize this kind of things. I prophesize that the New York Jets will continue to suck, right? The New York Jets will be a bad football team. It's like these things, right? They, inevitably it's going to come true. You could even say that about the good teams. There's things you can say that you just have to wait long enough and it'll end up happening. I prophesize that this empire will collapse. Well, yeah, it will someday. I mean, you could just say shit like that. And you could actually see the future, and it's not that big a deal, right? But the truth of the matter is, when shit goes down, there'll be a point where people are going to lose their faith in these religions because these religions suck. They are doing the opposite of connecting people to God. It's kind of like what I was showing you with the Erika Kirk, the TPSU Charlie Kirk stuff on Facebook. There's all these, non-official Charlie Kirk sites and these, various scammers out there that are trying to make bank on his martyrdom, right? I mean, he's a piece of shit shekel taker, Charlie Kirk, but still, these people feel a certain kind of way about them. A lot of these older Christian people with money and things like this who feel, that they believe in the bullshit storyline here and that they're taking advantage of those people, and it's just what happens, right? That's what happens, all these things, all these different kinds of a way. If you look at my track record here, and again, I don't want to call it my track record because I don't, I just let information flow through me. I have no idea if it's correct or not. But, I predicted COVID, and so did other people. But, somebody had a video where I said this is what's going to happen. And I wasn't even kind of like, I don't even remember it. I watched some video clip, and Bill Gates was saying something, and I was like, holy shit, they're going to fucking drop they're going to drop something. So, I could be called the prophet because of that, because it was something that was obviously they were planning because of the things that Bill Gates was saying, right? There's things like that have happened over and over again. So many things went exactly the way I said it was going to, and I had very limited information because it's just, I don't care about these things. And just, it's the information that flows through me. So that's not that big a deal. Like if you're going to, you're going to equate that with divinity and legitimize everything that a person says or their lives or who they are as a person based on them, getting a few things right or seeing the future. It's not some, overwhelming thing, right? My problem with the Bible, and that's not a problem, what I see with the Bible, there's, in terms of spiritual texts, in terms of things that are books that are written and information that's given, there's things that are out there to help you, help to inform you, help to prepare you, help to connect to God, help you to prepare for what's happening in the world, right? And then there's the things like the Bible that are there to hook you, that are there to scam you, that are there to somehow, to take hold of your path in life, to take hold of your perception of reality, and to bond you to the organization and enslave you into their religious doctrine, right? When Jesus was alive, he was working to help people to connect to the divinity within them, right? The same thing that I talk about here all the time. I'm much more aligned with Jesus, in a way that everybody who's a part of any real spiritual movement is to help you to, activate the resources that are inside of you and connect to God. But people don't want that because their egos don't want that. All this talk about demons with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, they're talking about demons all the time. They don't know anything about demons, right? Everybody's a potential demon. Your ego is a potential demon, and your soul, connecting your soul, is your potential saint. You can embolden your ego that inevitably goes against God's will, because that's what egos do when they run amok, right? You have an ego, and there's a reason to have an ego. And you do have freedom of choice, in a way, right? In a way. There's a period of time where you just have to submit to God's will. And you're like, yeah, I can see when I make my own choices, it always goes south. And that's something everyone was supposed to do early on, right? Like, you're supposed to have this realization in your first or second or third life, fifth life. You go through these various, like you're going through these avatars in a computer game, and you have these experiences. But people just don't do it, right? People have that realization, they still thumb their nose at divinity, because their egos just want to become demons, right? They want to go against God's will, and they want to do their own thing. They want to create their own creation, their own universe, which people are able to do, especially internally. People create their own view of reality. And so, but every spiritual person, every person that's out there to help other people, out there to disseminate information and pay forward what they were given, will tell you the same thing. You have to find divinity within you, and you have to tame your ego, and you have to embrace your soul's path. And so that's what Jesus was doing, and that's what so many other spiritual people are doing. And everyone fucking ignores them, in some cases kills them, for saying that shit, right? Especially in that part of the world, which is not the center of anything. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The two biggest religions and all this power and oil and stuff just happen to be there. It's part of a divine plan, right? But not orchestrated by the Bible. The Bible maybe gets some parts of that right, because, whatever. There can be some positive things in there, but the overall book is to hook you into giving up your spiritual sovereignty and buying into some bullshit claim about going to heaven if you embrace the organization. It's to occultize you, to make you a cult member, right? It's there for you to serve them, right? The spiritual person serves God, and through serving God serves everybody else. And so it's a service position. The person is working for God to whatever capacity. There's different levels. There's different levels of commitment. There's different levels of perception. But anybody who's working as a spiritual person is helping other people connect to God. But religious organizations exist so that you serve them. You are enslaved to them. And they indoctrinate you with their bullshit. And that's what the Bible is. It's a book of indoctrination. And it's not like it's hidden. There was the Council of Nicene, and there's all these, these events, these biblical events where they changed things, or they decided to interpret a story one way or another, or they decided to present the information or false information, include things that had nothing to do with Jesus, to embellish his story, to scrub away his humanness, right? To scrub away his humanity and all these other things, so that people would buy into it. They were trying to, hook people. They were changing they were seeing what people wanted, and they were figuring out how to indoctrinate people. And they changed the scripture, and they changed the way that they presented the information to better bring people in. And they made up a lot of bullshit to do that, right? And so it's there. It's not like fucking hidden. They had fucking missionaries going out, and they would torture and beat children, like Irish children, if they spoke their native language instead of speaking English, or Scottish children and Native American children, and they would torture them and to make them Christians. And you're like, oh well, they were just doing it so they would go to heaven. Fuck you, right? That's not, wake the fuck up, right? They were doing it because they wanted fucking more slaves. They wanted more people slaves to the Christian religion that they control and had zero to do with Jesus. In fact, it was the opposite of what Jesus wanted. They were using force, these crusades and these wars, to force people to be Christians. There's a whole bunch of movies out there, TV shows, about the Vikings. In that time, there's like two of them, the Vikings of Valhalla and other Vikings thing. And it's where these people believed in their bullshit religion, these Norwegian, these people from Denmark, these Vikings, which are very interesting people. And they had their own sort of druidic religion, and Christianity was taking over. And there's a battle, and some of the kings were starting to embrace Christianity for political reasons. And it was how all these white people up there, all these European people, ended up being indoctrinated into the Christian religion. And, it was, their religion wasn't great, but, and they all had sacrifices, all this kind of bullshit, right? Like, it's all bad shit, right? Because it's, these religions were all bad. Otherwise, we'd have a society full of saints. When there's a society full of saints, there'll be a spiritual movement at the basis of this. I'm going to include some whispers of the brighter world at the end of this video, and so that are interesting, along these lines. But if there is eventually where everybody's saints in the world, then we'll have a true spiritual movement. But all these religions have made people worse. We're going in the wrong direction. These religions have been in power. Are people getting more godly or less godly? So the results are right there. So if these things were really about, if Christianity was really about connecting you to God, then there wouldn't be so many shitty Christians out there, or so many people who've left Christianity and became shitty, because there'd be a society full of saints, and everyone would be like, oh, this thing's great, and it's helping us a lot. And if people were willing to become saints, that would be the other factor, and people aren't willing to do that. People are more willing to be a demon than they are to be a saint. People are more willing to embrace their demonic essence than they are to be a saint. And the evidence is right in front of your fucking faces, but you won't see it because you don't want to. That's, just like you won't see that our country is going to fold, because you can't, imagine such a situation, right? And so that's where we're at, people in denial. Anyways, let's move on to the other stuff here. Okay, so I just want to add a couple of things here. Let's listen to the end of that, right? And I was hearing myself say, people don't want to be saints. And if you think about it, how many people do you know? You really can't say, I want to be a saint. Like, that's not I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a NFL quarterback. It's not it's not like some kind of dream job. Saints are often, it's people who seek God, and then because of that, they are saints, right? They achieve a level of human service and service to divinity that they become saintly, right? It's people who are not looking to make something, achieve something like sainthood. But in that, how many people would think of that as an option? See, most people are limited to, like, if you grow up in a Catholic household, well, you could be a priest, and like, who wants to be that, right? You don't marry, like this fucking weird shit, it's a weird thing. You can be a nun or a priest or whatever, depending on your religion and what's available to you. But how many people really want to serve God, like, as their ambition in life, right? Almost everybody is selfishly oriented towards making money, enjoying themselves, and, maybe dabbling with God on the side. So that's, it's not an equal. I mean, you can go out and have a career and have a life and have a marriage and have a, family and do all those things, but also be a spiritual person, and not, a religious person, but a spiritual person. But most people just want their religious deal that they get, and that's about it. Do the bare minimum, just, get themselves covered for the afterlife, So, I mean, that's really the problem here, that people don't want to have a relationship with God, because it isn't about doing certain rituals or doing certain things or sacrificing certain things or whatever it is. It's having a relationship with God. Your ego submitting that there's a higher power. People say they believe in God, but then don't seek God out unless they need help, right? They don't seek God out and say, all right, God, I want to include you in my decision making, right? I mean, just that. Find a way to include God in your decision making. Can you do that, right? Can you do that much? Find a way to connect to God in a real way, not some artificial way where your ego is speaking through some, imaginary, made-up, alternative personality type fucking voices in your head bullshit, psychological breakdown shit, right? but actually connect to God on a higher level and embrace God from that point of view, right? Embrace God from a standpoint that you want to have a relationship with God. You want to communicate with God. People just don't even want that, right? So, because if there is a, I don't call it a being, an essence, if there's some kind of consciousness behind the universe, and that consciousness created all of us, and there's a purpose, and we have a soul, we have a spiritual essence that manifests our physical body. And so, I don't know how many billions of people believe some that in some framework or capacity based in their religious beliefs. But if those two things are something you believe, and you're unwilling to pursue that, you're unwilling to connect with your soul, you're unwilling to ask those questions, what am I supposed to be here for? Because you want to do whatever you want to do, like as an ego. And so that's what being demonic is, right? That's the pathway to becoming a demon. That you acknowledge that you have a purpose, a divine purpose here, because you have a soul and you're created for a reason, and you don't find out what that is. Don't seek it out at all, right? There's no part of you is like, there's got to be something more than this bullshit deal I'm getting from a corrupt civilization, a corrupt society, a bullshit religion, and that you're looking for something more. And the majority of people, when given the option between following some just religious rituals that don't make any sense and don't have anything to do with anything, or forming a relationship with the most powerful being, the essence, and power is not even the correct word here, but God, having a relationship with God in your soul, and connecting with your soul and saying, I want to find out why I'm really here and what I'm supposed to be doing, and how can I help? I mean, that there's some kind of spiritual reason for being here, right? Some divine purpose, not just on your material life, but in terms of your habits and your behaviors. And most people will take the first thing. Master Charji wrote a whole chapter about this in a book. In India, they have, these distinct paths. They have the spiritual path where there seems to be all this freedom because you're connecting to God and there's infinite potential and you're connecting to God directly. And there's all these systems that are about that. And then they have these religious rituals that are very strict and very oppressive, and they cost money. And they're bullshit, but they're whatever, they're whatever they are. And almost everybody takes that second one, the ritualistic bullshit things, that they have to pay money and there's all these restrictions because they don't want to give up the freedom of connecting to God and then not being able to do what they want to do, because most people know on a daily basis that they're doing something that God doesn't want them to do, that their soul doesn't want them to do. And I'm not talking about just drinking and gambling, but all that kind of shit. Like all the things that you do on a daily basis that aren't good for you. Eating foods that are going to kill you. Eating foods that have carcinogens in them. Putting things in your body, making decisions, watching crap on TV that warps your perception of reality and gross. It makes your internal system gross. Most people are making choices. Everybody makes those choices. At one point, even saints and higher developed souls make wrong choices. Egotistical choices that thwart their spiritual path. And people embrace that and don't want to give them up. People don't want to give up their ability to choose the wrong thing. And so that's why humanity's fucked. It's none of these other reasons. That's why we're fucked individually and collectively, because people want to make bad choices and they don't want to give up that freedom, which you do when you embrace your soul and God. And they let you know in no uncertain circumstances, even in subtle ways, mostly subtle ways, that you shouldn't be doing this or that or the other thing, and you know it because you don't want, you're not seeking it out. People don't seek it out because they don't want to be told that, right? They don't want to make the right choice, right? They don't want to make the boring choice or the stable choice. They want excitement. They want drama. They want all this shit. So, anyways, let's get into the other stuff here. Okay, so Candace Owens things may be coming today or not. We don't know. But somebody sent me this clip that you're going to see in a second. I went to find the whole interview, and then they sent it on Instagram, which was a poor video, so I went to find it on YouTube. And it's a hilarious moment with Kid Rock, but unintentionally hilarious. But Kid Rock is one of the most disgusting, perverted pieces of shit out there. He's just like a dirtbag. And he now is embracing Jesus and the right wing. He performed at Trump's inauguration, and he's just really shitty. He sucks as a rapper and a fucking singer, He's just fucking gross. You know, any spiritual organization would be like, Jesus would be like, dude, please go somewhere else, right? You know, it's not the kind of guy you want out there in front of your, associated with your religious, spiritual movement. But this happened here.
Kid Rock is here. All right, Kid, we're hearing from sources.
Kid, what's up, Kid? First name Kid, last name Rock.
That you might be the one to be the first to play in the big, beautiful ballroom. Is that true?
Man, I hope so. Ball till you fall. That's what I say.
Yeah, wow. That kind of rhyming skills, and no wonder he's such a great rapper.
Can you believe people are getting this worked up over a ballroom?
You know, you lose credibility when you're talking to this person like he's a human fucking being, right? You lose credibility when all that shit is, you know, all that stuff, right? So you can't talk about the left being stupid and the left being corrupt and the left being piece of shit when you're getting on your knees and servicing Kid Rock on your supposedly credible news show.
Well, I've heard all the talking points like you have from the left wing, especially the media, which is, this is the people's house. That is correct. That is the people's house. And guess what? We, the people, elected this man overwhelmingly.
Yeah, did they want to build a fucking ballroom? And so Trump is going to bring him into the ballroom to inaugurate it because he's so fucking classy. Nothing says ballroom like Kid fucking scumbag Rock, right? But there's a moment at the end of the interview. Let's go to that.
It'd be for Halloween.
So my whole family is doing Scooby-Doo. My son's going to be Scooby-Doo. I'm Shaggy.
Yeah, I bet you are, you fucking creep.
They're kind of dressed like you. Big baggy clothes, you got long hair. I'm just going to have a little flask while I walk around. There you go. Undercover brother.
Guess what I'm going to be?
What?
Guess what I'm going to be?
Fauci?
A retard. A retard.
Yeah. Take off that mask then. Take off that mask, bro. Because you wear that costume every day. And so, I'm not a mask person. And I was, before COVID hit, I knew what I was going to do. I wasn't going to take the vax. Like, certainly, didn't know about the masks, but knew that was bullshit, right? I knew all this stuff. And so Kid and Rock and I agree on this, but that doesn't make us anything, right? We're not cool. We're not bros. We're not, the same. Just because he was, right about COVID. Just like I was talking about the Bible thing earlier. Kid Rock is a scumbag, piece of shit, low-life motherfucker who was out there embracing Trump on that bogus fucking inauguration WWE Fest fake assassination attempt bullshit thing, right? He's like the worst. And nothing to offer humanity, just an absolute piece of shit. And, this thing, but...
Okay. I guess you can be anything for
Greatest
Halloween.
costume ever.
Yeah, it is. Like, just, this guy, they're embracing this guy. The fact that you're embracing somebody, like, no moral compass, the same thing with Trump. Just because he agrees with you in a few little things, he's right about a few things, and you bow before these motherfuckers. And this is why I call the right-wing dumb fucks, because they just want to hear it. I saw a few previews to various shows that are on comedy shows. I was watching a football game. I think it was one of them, Reba McEntire's show. And it's just so horrible, right? So this isn't the promo I saw. But this was not the only comedy. There's another comedy, the couple's first marriage or something. And it's specifically targeted towards Republican right-wing dumb fucks. There's a lot of fucking targeted comedies and shit that are just horrible. Like, not just for that demographic. The comedies that are targeted towards a demographic of people.
Come on to Happy's Place.
There's
Woo!
been a little hiccup in Happy's will. It turns out you two are sisters.
Sisters? Hey, we said that exactly like.
Wow. Boom. But she's Asian. And see, they don't look like sisters.
Sometimes it feels like I can't believe Daddy would do anything like that. He always said family is the most important thing.
Maybe that's why he started 2 of them.
Oh, boom. Boom. She sees her wisecracking sister or friend. It's funny.
Oh boy.
We have a bar. No, I have a bar.
I don't really have anyone. I'm just looking for a place where I belong.
Safe travels.
Boom. Boom. Like, boom. There's just amazing fucking comedy gold here. And it's made for dumb fucks, right? Like, you have to really want to laugh. You really will have to, like, be willing to accept any kind of bullshit they shit out here that is funny. Like, you want to really have to like Reba McEntire as a horrible actress, right? Like, this kind of stuff. And, whenever I see left-wing shit and right-wing shit, like it's on Facebook, I see a lot more right-wing shit because of just whatever. Or Twitter when it's recommended. And it's really, you have to warp reality pretty hard to make it look like it's quality, right? I mean, just to think that this is good. And there's tons of content like this out there. Kid Rock being somebody who, like, what? Why would Christians ever embrace that motherfucker, right? Would you let Kid Rock around your daughter? Like, you fucking, like, this is a fucking complete horrible person. But he says a few things that agree with you. And then you say, hey, this guy's part of it, and Trump likes him. Just same thing with Trump. And these are depraved individuals, right? Jeffrey Epstein motherfuckers. And they're just, sold to you when you buy it because you're told these are the people you like. Those are the people they like. And you don't like their people, and they don't like your people. And your people, whatever they say is good because they're your people. And so this is what we're talking about here. It's just depraved. Okay, so I saw this yesterday. This is SportsCenter Sunday morning on October 26th. And this is Hannah Storm, some other NPC, who I don't know his name, in the middle. And the bigger guy is Herm Edwards, a former coach of the Jets, who is known for saying outrageous things, right? And he comments, and most of what he says kind of stupid, but you can see he's expected to say funny, outrageous things. They're turning it over to Herm, and this is his final word. He comes out there and he gets the final word, and what he's going to talk about is the Buffalo Bills, which were a team that was off to a really good start, has lost the last 2 games. And so what is the final word on what the Buffalo Bills need to do today?
Bills Panthers.
You're going to like this. Vital. Yes, that's what it is. Vital. When you think about the Buffalo Bills right now, they can...
Holy shit, did you just say vital? Whoa. No fucking... That guy is crazy. He is hilarious. Oh my God, what a card, what an out of the box thinker. He said vital. That they got their season right now, the word is vital. They got to win this game today. It's vital that they win this game. An NFL team, it's vital that they win a game on their schedule. A playoff team. If they don't win this game, I mean, it's vital that they win this game. Holy shit, he said it. Like, yeah, he fucking just came out and said it. Crazy. Look at him laugh. Look at how Hannah Storm grows like 4 times her actual size. Hannah Storm. I mean, she's like, she gets too close to the camera and she goes, there's that picture I have with Jimmy Carter and the 2 Carters and Jill Biden and Joe Biden. And they're really big because the way the lens distorted them. But anyways, he said vital.
They cannot lose 3 in a row. You know why? Because the pest...
Look, Hannah Storm, you got to hide, Hannah Storm. Hide behind that NPC. There's too much outrageous commentary going here. It's too funny. You got to protect yourself. You better hide from Herman. He's unleashing. Look at how Herman's grown. He's like 4 times the size that he should be. And they're shrinking. Hannah's shrinking. You got to hide, Hannah. It's so fucking funny. It's so outrageous. I mean, saying shit like vital, you can't stand it. Like, you're going to explode from the fucking outrageousness of this take here.
The Patriots are leading the division right now. So get it right, It's vital. Okay. Don't mess around with this one. You better.
Don't mess around with this one. This is fucking vital. This is unbelievably vital. Did I not say that already? Did I stutter? It's so fucking vital. You better not mess around with this vitality. It's fucking vital. I told you. It's vital. Did I not tell you? It's vital. The outrageousness. I mean, the craziness of the thing. Don't mess around now. Don't mess around. Lose this game because it's pretty vital out there. You don't guys want to lose another football game. I mean, this is it's vital.
Win this one, Buffalo Bills.
Oh, man, yeah, but they
Circle the wagons. Circle the wagons.
That's right. Circle them wagons. Somebody told this guy he's funny, and she's looking. Hannah Storm's getting ready to contain herself. She's going to burst from laughter. It's so funny because he said vital and circle the wagons in the same take. Can you fucking believe that? Circle the motherfucking wagons. Bam! Take that fucking boom. Take that shit, Hannah. That's, yeah. And there's more where that came from.
That's all I got to say.
I'm afraid to ask this question, but they haven't been able to stop the run. Are they going to be able to do it in Carolina?
She's afraid to ask this question. I'm afraid. I mean, it's getting unsafe in here with this crazy comedy. This off the fucking, out of the bandwidth take here. I mean, hide your children. It's not getting safe. It's like a fucking hurricane of outrageousness in here. Come on. You can't fucking, I mean, I'm afraid to ask this question. The Buffalo Bills have not been able to stop the run. So do you think they'll do it in California? I mean, Carolina? I mean, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to ask that question. I mean, I'm afraid that the response from you is going to be too outrageous.
You know what? Score points, and then the other team can't run.
Score points.
That's what I always say. Stop the run, score points, and they can't run. They got to throw it.
Exactly. This is why this guy should still be a head coach. I mean, somebody hire this fucking guy because the answer to stopping the other team's run isn't to fortify your defense and get some run-stopping nose tackles and defensive tackles and things in there and have some kind of strategy. It's just score fucking points. It's just that easy. Score some fucking points. Everyone knows how easy that is at the NFL. As long as you're scoring points, they can't run the football. I mean, fucking just math.
What's the final word again?
So vital.
Okay. I think it's vitally important that we get out of here right now.
Exactly. I mean, we might get thrown off the air if he keeps on going up. I mean, we might be banned from it. We might get canceled. We let this guy throw out words like vital and score fucking points and all these outrageous things he says. Circle the wagons. I mean, we don't know we better get out of here. It's not even safe anymore. It's not safe to let this guy keep on fucking rambling on. I might explode with laughter and there might be too much, to entertainment for the good folks at home watching to stand. I mean, kids might start spontaneously combusting and shit. Right? This is the kind of stuff you see all the fucking time. This dumb motherfucking shit, right? You turn on the local news and they got Bob, the outrageous weatherman, and he might say Bob, oh my God, Bob, stop it, Bob. Well, he's out of control, that guy. He's out of fucking control, right? This narrow bandwidth bull fucking shit, like they're saying something revolutionary. And everyone fake fucking laughs and they pretend and they go back and they hate each other. They're fucking cynical people. And they just fucking con the American dumbasses that this is actually entertaining and this guy is worth fucking watching and listening. That his expertise as a football coach is to stop the fucking run, you need to fucking score more fucking points and circle the fucking wagons and shit like that. Like that's fucking football. There's more strategy in football than there is in war plans. There's more people breaking down film and figuring out strategies in football games and all this kind of things that they do, especially now with computerized technology and all the ways that they can, various angles of film, the camera angles and the rest of that shit, right? And see, this stuff passes for fucking entertainment. Like, this is how dumb fucking people are, how fucking stupid people are, and how just all this slop, right? This is an AI slop. This is human-generated slop out there for dumbasses. Just silly fucking shit. Like, I mean, who's looking at this thing going, oh my God, this guy's outrageous? It's dumb fucks who don't know the difference. Oh, Hannah Storm's laughing. They're telling me this guy's funny, so he must be. They're selling this thing as entertainment. I must be entertained. I guess I feel pretty entertained right now and pretty informed. I mean, he said vital, so I guess that's what we're going with, right? Like, holy shit. Like, I've reached my capacity for dumb fuckery, for dumb fuckistan. Like I've just had enough. I've got an aversion for it. I see it all the time now. Like whenever I'm watching anything, there's just dumb fuck stuff going on out there, right? So, anyways, there's a guy named Grady Dick, and he hit some guy in the balls yesterday. He plays for the Toronto Raptors, and he accidentally hit some guy in the balls yesterday, and some guy went, "Yeah, that's going to be a meme." I mean, it's just like we're imploding right now. Anyways, let's hopefully that Candace Owens thing will be up, and I'll start dissecting that. The big thing with the Candace Owens thing is, at one point, does she call out Erika Kirk? Like that's what I'm waiting for, because that's that's inevitable, or it's something that has to be done. But anyways, we'll get back to that later. So let's go back to this Kid Rock thing, right? Because so this guy's some straight-laced conservative person. I don't know who he is. I think I've seen him before, but his Benny Johnson. Oh, I don't that name. I've seen his tweets before. So this is Benny Johnson. He's, I think, been on Turning Point USA very recently, right? So I looked for this Kid Rock thing. Fox News put up the whole interview, but the part where he said that he dressed up like a retard. Like, so they, for whatever reason, they didn't want to put that on. Like, that was just too lowbrow, even for Fox News. But here.
What happened on Fox News last night is the single funniest moment in the history of live TV, in my personal.
So in your personal opinion, this is the funniest thing ever in the history of live TV. This is the funniest. This is the moment, the quintessential moment of live TV where Kid Rock said something hilarious. Are you serious, right? Like, there's been a lot of funny things that have happened on live TV. Kanye West saying George Bush doesn't care about black people. Remember that? That was pretty funny. That's, Kanye West stealing the trophy for stealing the statue, for the microphone from Taylor Swift. That was pretty funny. He's got two funny moments right there. But even from the music industry of dumbasses, right? The dumbass music industry, Kanye West has two more funny things than this Kid Rock thing. This Kid Rock thing isn't really even funny. I mean, it's funny in a way. The ironic part where he's, saying he's dressed like a retard, and he pulls off the mask.
Opinion. This was Kid Rock and Jesse Waters trading jabs over who's going to have the best Halloween costume. That's the setup. Kid Rock does regularly.
I mean, you're pretty funny too, bro. You're the level of your hilarity.
We go on Fox News, and he's a regular guest. And you can see here that he says something that sends Jesse Waters howling.
He was fucking howling.
With laughter, and the entire studio actually in an uproar.
Uproar at the studio. It was crazy.
Jesse Waters asked Kid Rock, "What are you going to be for Halloween?" And Kid Rock puts on a mask and says something that sends the whole Fox News studio screaming, Waters in tears.
I mean, this introduction is just incredible. Your vitality and your humor and your
comedy gold.
It's comedy gold, bro.
Comedy's back, baby.
What are you going to be for Halloween?
So my whole family is doing Scooby-Doo. My son's going to be Scooby-Doo. I'm Shaggy. So I'm going to kind of dress like you.
Just like, yeah.
Big baggy clothes, I got long hair. It's going to have a little flask while I walk around.
Shaggy was a stoner, he wasn't a drinker. He didn't have a flask.
Around. Yeah. There you go. Undercover brother.
Guess what I'm going to be?
What?
Guess what I'm going to be?
Fauci?
A retard.
The best part's when he pulls the mask down, right?
There you go. Undercover brother.
Guess what I'm going to be?
What?
Guess what I'm going to be?
Okay, so when he pulls the mask down, he should have kept the mask up.
Fauci?
A retard.
It's wonderful with the Jesus hat and the fish. It's just epic, right? And so, people who will do anything or follow anybody when the person's obviously a piece of shit, right? Kid Rock and Trump's a piece of shit. I mean, it's when the Democrats were talking about Joe Biden being one of the greatest presidents ever, and everybody could see the guy was having dementia. He was showing signs of dementia for like 7-8 years. And they were talking about him being one of the greatest presidents ever. I mean, just, what they'll sell to people, just the bullshit and what people will accept. The stupidity that people will accept. They're like, oh, this guy Kid Rock's great. Like Kid Rock would be with Charlie Kirk and perform and do all that shit, and Trump and all those kind of things, and they would be accepted. Oh, he said some things that agree with our point of view. He must be one of us, right? I mean, just like so bad.
Retard.
Okay. I guess you can be anything for
Greatest
Halloween.
costume ever.
All right, kid.
It's out the season.
So I'm not even where these guys came from. So there's that, right? This stuff that I was talking about, these local newscasts, and they, the hilarity and the outrageousness. They always got that guy, the fucking crazy guy, and all that, stuff where they make it sound like this is, some sort of cutting edge brilliance, and it's so fake. Everyone's just faking. Everyone's pretending that it's funny. They're not laughing. There's not that condition of laughter. There's not any real emotive response to it. It's not visceral in any way, right? It's just completely performative, right? People just eat that shit up. I mean, it's just, it reaches a point when you've experienced this. I've had a lifetime of this dumb shit. I fell for the dumb shit when I was a kid because you don't know better. You don't have the capacity to see through these things. But there are shows, the WWE, I was like, oh, this is stupid. There's television shows for kids as I got older. I'm like, oh, these things are stupid. Or even cartoons, I was like, why is everyone else laughing? Like, it's fucking stupid, right? And then as you get older, just the stupidity, and they're still doing the same stupid shit. Like, people think they're more sophisticated, but they still put out the same basic fucking low consciousness, brain dead shit, right? So anyways, okay, so you can probably tell the dumb fuck stuff is getting to me. The low vibrational, low consciousness. I mean, we all go through phases where we do stupid shit, right? And I think more and more of us are realizing idiocracy is like fucking real, right? Especially with each succeeding generation getting stupider and stupider. You think the content would get somewhat more organic or authentic because that's what people want. People want authentic and organic content. And so it's pouring rain outside. My wife and I just went to the store, and Candace Owen is dropping her thing. I don't know where my phone is, but is dropping her thing in just a little bit. Speaking of dumb fuckistan, there's already it looks like 400 or 500 comments. Charlie's Angels or Demons disturbing footage emerges. Candace episode 252 is coming, and it is going to happen in an hour. It's now 4 o'clock, so she's going to release this at 5, which is probably pretty consistent with what she does, right? But anyways, going back to this thing that I was saying. I have NBA League Pass, and I watch these games, from local TV stations, which I really enjoy the local announcers. The guy from Charlotte, Hornets announcer, he's been talked about by other people, and he just goes over the top. The guys from New Orleans, they were, the one guy was making fun of Grady Dick's name. They have a different kind of quality. Some of the play-by-play guys are like unintelligible. You can't understand shit they're saying. They're like famous basketball players from like some, whatever city. They're famous in that city, but they've, they're not really good at doing the announcing, but they're beloved in the community. And so, you have these different kinds of things. And they also, once in a while, show you clips of some of the shit that they do, like halftime things and things that they do with the people in the audience, giveaways and, giving away T-shirts and shit like that. I was watching this Dallas Mavericks game the other day, and they had 2 blonde women. One was young, like a young model type, and the other was an older model type, both blondes. Very Texas, and in the middle of them was a African-American woman who was about to play a contest, and she was supposed to guess 3 songs. Like they play like the first 2 lines, and you guess the third line. It's a very common game that's played on radio stations and and TV shows and things like that. And so the woman knew country music because they played a country song that I really had never heard before. I kind of heard, I knew what it was, but I wouldn't have been able to guess it. And she was able to get the next line. I forget what the second song was, but she didn't know that. These were old songs, like, songs from the 80s and 90s. This woman was probably in her 60s, so, that time period. And then they played Toto's Africa, that song Africa. And she said she didn't know the music, the lyrics. So she needed to get 2 out of the 3. And they said, well, the audience, the people in attendance of the game could sing the line for her. And I'm like, well, then why fucking play the game, right? I mean, like, you're making her jump through hoops for a fucking lousy T-shirt. It's a jersey. It's like a team jersey, right, of one of the players. But I mean, it's maybe $100 shirt or whatever. If you're going to give it to her anyway, why bother playing the fucking game, right? But it's just like everything's so fucking stupid. There's something else I saw that maybe I can think about it. Well, first of all, the rules of the game are very specific. You have to guess the lyrics of the song 2 out of 3 times. You have to know the lyrics of the song, so they're going to sing, and you have to complete these sentences. There's some leniency. There's a judge that can, that's going to side with you if you get kind of close, right? If you just get halfway there or get it kind of right, they're going to give it to you because it's not a real fucking thing. And they have this merch that they're really trying to pimp out there. And they want you to see the merch, if you're watching on TV and the other people in the crowd. I mean, it's a way to promote their fucking merch. I mean, sales of jerseys is a big money maker, right? That's why they have all those different uniforms. They have these specialty uniforms. They want to sell as much as possible. And, if you're just going to give it to her, I mean, then don't play fucking game. It's just like, why bother doing that? Like, just make it a giveaway or make it so easy that anybody can get it. Like something where, people knowing the lyrics of a song that fucking people used to play in the 1980s is not, it's not a universal gimme, right? The second thing was, I saw, and I'm not sure it was in Utah or California. It couldn't have been Alaska. It could have been, I don't know, possibly Toronto. I don't know. I don't know if I saw something in Canada. It was probably not that. So, but it was some native dancing. It was like, they're either Hawaiian or Native American. I only watched a little of it. And I'm like, how bad is your culture degraded that you're performing at one of these fucking gaudy NBA halftime shows? You're out there on the court and all this stuff, and you're doing your ritualistic dances, right? I don't know what these things used to do, like rain dances, and I don't know how, effective they were. But I know they're not effective now because it's just been lost. In the Sajmarg meditation that I do, there is, Babaji would talk about how there's all these mantras that people started doing wrongly. Things lose their essence, just like when I talk about with religions. They start off with, when they're originally given, if it's some divine gift that somebody plugs into the divine essence, and they plug into God, and they come up with some kind of spiritual practice and some mantra or dance or whatever it might be that comes from a divine place, that's channeled, that's a gift given from the so-called brighter world, the etheric region, the etheric realm, given by divinity, by divine beings. And it has some merit to it, and it's done for a specific time period and a specific place and specific people. And you have people doing those fucking mantras and shit and rituals in some fucking pretentious California retreat center or something that they put out in Arizona or something, Nevada or some place like that, the desert. They do all these types of things, and it's lost its umph, like it's lost its its reason, and it's been degraded over time, right? And you see it like all these things and they don't play well because it just looks primitive. Like it looks like people are very sophisticated, at least in their technology and their lifestyle, and we know scientific things, and other stuff that's, again, that's more intellectual. And you're doing these kind of like very aboriginal, what people would consider primitive dancing. It just doesn't play well, right? I mean, some people are into it, study it, figure out what it is. They're more open to other cultural things. But, again, it's almost like the appropriation of your own culture, right? Like people are appropriating their own culture. Like if I started doing Italian shit, like I cook Italian food, I'm part Sicilian. I don't know what I'm a storyteller, so I guess that's, part of the Irish, whatever. The Irish are good storytellers. I'm part Irish. I don't drink or anything like that, I don't do any of that fucking river dancing or anything. And I'm also Albanian. I don't know what, I know almost, it's what I know least. And I'm part German, and, I don't know. I mean, I guess I make sauerkraut occasionally. I mean, I've done it in the past. But, it's like appropriating your own culture. Like if I, got into these things that I'm so distanced from. Like I don't know very much about any of these cultures. I didn't learn it from my parents and my grandparents. All that stuff had faded away. My parents didn't know the languages and the, whatever it was from the culture. And so it's like appropriating your own culture, like trying to embrace something that, you're American, right? You've grown up as an American. You eat American food. Like you see that there's a great show. I don't know the name of it. It's these kids, these Native American kids, and they're trying to steal like trucks to go find something. They're thieving around the reservation, and everybody kind of knows it, but they're giving them a pass. And they're looking for something, and they go find this one guy who's still practicing the old ways. And he's talking about how he's living off the land, and he's like, they go to visit the guy. And he's talking about how he's living off the land, and, he's like off grid. And he's just kind of hunting and doing all this stuff. And one of the girls goes, "You like Sonic's a lot." Sonic's the fast food place. And they pan over, and there's like a bunch of Sonic bags. People lose their, whatever it is, their traditional stuff. And you can embrace it. I'm not saying it's, I don't have that's whatever it is, but it's just dumbed down. It's never be as good as it was. It's a time and place. And you're American. Like deep down, you go to Walmart, you go to fucking Costco, you do American shit, no matter what your cultural upbringing is, whatever your ancestral stuff is. And it's a bygone era, right? Like everything's just so fucking stupid and degraded and superficial and pretentious now. It's hard to fucking, it's just after a while, like, you just build an aversion to it. Anyways, let's wait. The Candace Owens thing's coming here in about half an hour. Okay, so the Candace Owens thing is about to start in 5 minutes. She's already gotten like $160 or $180 in donations. And so, and there's all these comments. So she's pretty smart at being able to attract attention. She's getting 2.7 million views per video, whereas Turning Point's getting like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10,000 views. Occasionally a 20 or 30 or 50, but nothing in the millions. And so for this thing to be worth my while in terms of covering here and watching, she's going to have to at some point turn on Erika Kirk. And it's got to be in the near future, because the reality of the thing is, if you don't believe in the official story, if you don't believe in the Tyler Robinson story, any person doesn't believe in that story, then Trump is complicit, Kash Patel is complicit, everyone who's involved with the government's complicit, everybody who's pushing this idea of Tyler Robinson being the guy, like they all know. We know, and we don't have access to the information they have. Like they have straight up information. And certainly Erika Kirk and all of Turning Point and all those other people know. So all those people are perfectly happy to send somebody who's at least semi-innocent or maybe completely innocent to his death or life imprisonment, or the guy is just going to be, he's an actor, they're going to release after this time. But if Charlie Kirk is actually killed, and Erika Kirk is actually his wife, and she actually loved him, she knows that he was worried about Israel. She knows that Israel gave them hundreds of millions of dollars, and they were basically threatening him and were very clear about him turning on them after they propped him up and made him into what he was, right, based in their financing. and support across the board. And so all of those people would know everything that we know and what Candace Owen is going to present. And so at some point she's got to blame Erika and the rest of these people. And so she keeps on, hinting at these things. Like she's really good at stringing people along and getting people to view her shit, because nothing's going to come of this. Anything that she says is not going to be actualized by the mainstream media or by the mainstream justice system. And people at Turning Point may or may not step around and sort of kind of answer her questions, because they know their audience is leaving them for her. She's won the Turning Point battle. She's getting millions upon millions of views, and they're getting fucking dick, right? Maybe not Monica. Maybe not Erika, but certainly those two beta males sharing one testicle. But anyways, all right, so it's about ready to start here. I'm going to go in through it and see what's up. Okay, here it is.
Longer to get there. It took me longer to accept that fact than it did many others. Some people accepted
She's saying that it was hard to accept that Charlie Kirk's daddy's not coming back.
it within just a matter of days. His quote-unquote closest friends, his
wife,
just political allies, the White House, they all seemed kind of ready to move on so much faster than I was. And now it's looking like some people even may have accepted Charlie's death within minutes. There is a video that is currently circulating of his chief of staff, Mikey McCoy. It's going viral for a lot of reasons. We're going to go through that video and buckle up, because I have an even more exclusive, never before seen video that I think is going to make your skin crawl. Plus, I have even more never before seen text messages from Charlie Kirk. Incredibly, Charlie Kirk did in fact know that Turning Point was going to be the death of him, and I have proof of that.
Okay, so let's see. Again, at some point this has to get to Erika Kirk, because, either all this stuff that she's presenting is bullshit, or these things happen. And as a wife, like, what wife wouldn't want to see justice for, or what spouse wouldn't want to see justice for their slain husband or wife, right? And women particularly, like, women have a thing, they're much, men will want to get revenge and all that kind of shit. But women want to really turn the screws, especially, in a circumstance like this. She's already forgiven a guy who didn't kill him. Erika is everything in this thing. Because she's more culpable than anybody else. She's now in charge of Turning Point. She's benefited from this. She's milked it. She's got the $250 million payout from Turning Point donations. She's, whatever she's getting out of this thing, she's the one. Certainly Trump benefited and Israel benefited, because Charlie started to turn a little bit on Israel. That would have been a bad thing, especially what's going on in the last couple, weeks, all the stuff that happened with the peace deal, which I'm sure you would have slathered all over him, because he still was shackled up. He was still Charlie Shekels. But anyways.
He also knew that I was the only person who was going to step up to defend him after he was gone. That sounds crazy, but it's the truth. So let's get...
What about Erika? Like, what about Erika there, Candace? Like, once you realize that the official story is bullshit, then that immediately all the people pushing the official story are part of it, right? They're part of this thing. Whether the guy's dead, or alive, whether he's, any of these things, right? Candace might be just controlled opposition. She is controlled opposition in one way or another. But maybe she didn't really know Charlie. Maybe that whatever this is in terms of a show, right? Whatever's being acted, whatever's being performed, all those things. But once you realize, let's say this is a fictional story or a real story, or really partly both things, then you get into the idea of, like, well, everybody who's not calling bullshit on such an obvious patsy, right, is completely compromised in on it, is shackled up in one way or another. Okay, so she talks about in the beginning how she went to Wyoming, that she first went to Wyoming with Charlie Kirk, was the last person she went there. Some guy's funeral was there. Kanye invited her. Kanye had that big place up there. Remember Kanye made this some walkway under a lake or pond that he had on his Wyoming property that you made it look like you were walking on water. Like you couldn't see the platform, was just under the surface of the water, and he used it in one of his, he had that gospel album, which was pretty good. There's some good songs on that album. But she went to his release party, and this donor, this mega donor who died up there, Charlie Kirk, went to his funeral, and somehow I guess Kanye was involved with that. And that Charlie Kirk loved the mountains up there, but he didn't love fishing. He hates fishing, which I found interesting because Jesus was a fisherman, right? He's a fisher of men. He brought all these people together. Like he was a community builder. And he was also a fisherman. And, his disciples were all fishermen. But she says this here.
Lewandowski hit flash, took the picture. Charlie just went, ugh. I don't know why you guys like this, because he was too hyperactive. He always wanted to be planning and doing a million things at once.
And shekeling and taking shekels and doing things to take shekels and getting things that would bring him shekels.
Fishing takes time. You got to set the bait. It's now been 47 days since my friend Charlie Kirk was executed in front of...
Okay, so the whole thing about setting the bait is like that's her thing. So here...
I mean, I truly believed that I would be fighting for answers to what actually happened on 9/10 alongside Charlie's inner circle. I thought the band maybe was going to get back together. We were all going to maybe be on a group chat. Me, Tyler Boyer, Andrew Colvett, Stacy Sheridan even.
Monica/Erika Kirk? She's not part of the band? Is she Yoko? Say she's Yoko. Say she's fucking Yoko, Candace.
You're wondering who Stacey Sheridan is, by the way. She's the one who's holding the camera when Charlie's casket is being escorted off of Air Force Two. She's like the chief money person, essentially.
There you go. She knows about shekels. This woman knows about fucking shekels. You want to know about shekels? Ask her, Stacy.
At Turning Point USA. She was brought in to reel in the big donors. I remember exactly when that happened.
She was able to get the shekels. She knew how to get shekels.
All of those people, by the way, were actually brought in by Tyler Boyer. He's a very important character in the story.
Yes, he is. He's a fucking... Who is this guy?
But we're going to get into all of that tomorrow.
Tomorrow? What's bullshit? I want to know about Tyler Boyer now.
The point that I'm making here is that I had assumed, clearly wrongly, that we'd all maybe be on a group chat communicating, raising hell and demanding answers from the feds, from the police, from the White House even. Certainly.
And maybe at least they think they could throw me some fucking shekels to shut my mouth. These $100 donations I'm getting. I want some real shekels. Give her some real fucking shekels. I mean, come on. She gets some shekels. Everyone gets some shekels.
At the very least, pointing out the very many holes.
See, she won't say anything about Erika Kirk, and maybe never will, because she's a grieving widow, in air quotes. But, that's where it all comes down to, right? Okay, so it's Tuesday, October 28th. I had to stop. I didn't get a chance to finish this Candace Owens thing yesterday. I had a realization about her and the thing. I got a clip that showed up on my phone that later on she's talking about something, and it just, the whole thing. The way that she presents herself in these things. But I'll get to that in a moment. But she said this early on, continuing from where I was before.
Told that these people believe the official narrative. Lone shooter. No one else involved. Just a crazy guy with too many pronouns in his bio.
So she's talking about all the people that are surrounding Charlie Kirk. The thing that she gets into a whole dream later on at Charlie Kirk, and I'll talk about that. My reaction to that was late at night. It appeared on my phone in a short form video. The dream that he had about him dying, early death, and all these things. But she gets into this whole narrative of this guy who's her pastor, and that he came out right off the bat, said that Charlie had a plan for succession. Plan that was going to be put in place immediately. And this guy's son, the video that's surfacing from this guy's son, she's got into it with the pastor before. Let's go to that here.
Charlie indeed had a plan. Take a listen.
Everyone's worried about the leadership of TPUSA. Don't. He was wise enough at 31 to put together
That was a fake sign. You know, the bad acting here, and you know, people want to live in a WWE world, like especially these right-wing dopes. You know, I don't know what you would call the left wing. What's the equivalent to that? But the people who were in the left wing who were saying Joe Biden was great, when he clearly was having fucking dementia right in front of you. You know, I mean, it was a mess. Everyone could see it. Like it was something that you could see before he was elected. I mean, it was obvious when he was in the debates and things that this guy was, you know, he was too far gone to become president. I mean, same thing like with Fetterman, like all that stuff, like after that debate, he performance he had. And just to pretend you didn't see what you saw. And, you know, Trump and the whole WWE fake assassination attempt, I think people kind of knew it was fake. Like, they knew it was, like, seemed fake. Erika Kirk's fake, you know, reaction to Charlie's death. And this guy with that fake sigh, you know, it's this whole thing. I mean, it's like people just want it to be whatever. Like, oh, you're on my side? Well, whatever you do, I'm going to buy into, and we're going to pretend that it's real and fucking, you know, like they like faking it. They like people to fake it. They like people to be obviously not sincere in their emotional reactions and stuff.
Plan for succession. It's very clear what they decided, and they're implementing it now.
Amazing. I mean, amazing. So on September 14th, we were made aware of this succession plan, and I find that to be fascinating. The people who didn't even know Charlie all around the world seem to be fighting harder for him, fighting harder.
So she said that was from September 14th, and it was, you know, what was it, that he 10th? So 4 days after he died. You know, so this guy was talking about a plan. This was supposed to be his pastor. He got into it with her before. But his kid ends up talking on the phone, and this video is going around, and she has it here. I guess the guy addressed his son's video first.
Okay.
As a father, I want to protect my son. And I thought, I got a plan for you, son. He said, Dad, that's not Charlie's plan. And you know what? I'm looking at my son who's 24 years old. Justin's the CFO, chief financial officer, and Mikey's the chief of staff. And I'm watching, the minute Charlie was shot, he called me, says, Dad, Charlie's been shot in the neck. Please call every pastor and pray. I said, okay, son.
Okay, son. He talks like Trump does. Like, okay, President. Okay, First Lady. You know, like, it's weird. It's just so fucking fake, right?
He has wits about him. He was just directing. He had blood all over him. And
two things I want you to remember here.
Okay, so she gets into how he doesn't have blood because they stand behind where Kirk was shot. But here's the video of that. So he's in here. You can see he's on the phone. So this is his CEO or his chief of staff. I don't know which kid it is. But one of these kids who's really influential in Turning Point is on the fucking phone immediately when he shot, right? So this is bad. And we'd seen this before, the guy on the phone, right?
So we decided to slow this clip down, and we're going to watch this clip slow down so you can see that it is exactly 834 milliseconds from the time that you hear the shot. That is how long it takes for Mikey McCoy to put the phone to his ear. Now, why is that precise timing so important? Because there's no dialing. Mikey didn't have time to dial, okay? You can't dial
right here.
And put your phone to an ear and point. Really grasp how quickly this transpires. So when this clip was brought,
he walks here. So it's not even a full second. And he's on the phone. So she gets into like where they think he's here it is here. Is it right here?
when Charlie is brought to the car, the waiting car rather, he is still on the phone. And I can show you the clip of that. Take a look at this. Don't worry, we'll slow it down for you. See him in the background with the backpack. It's Mikey McCoy. Okay.
Okay, so she gets into where they here. Let me see if I can find that part here.
See Mikey's on his phone here, and you're going to see he pulls it up, and he starts to cover his ear again. Now.
Okay, so she says that he was on the phone. They think he's on the phone. During Charlie's going to be shot in about like a minute and 30 seconds from now. Allegedly. Allegedly. And so this guy was on the phone, and he put the phone down. Like, that's what she's saying. That the guy called somebody, put the phone down, and had the phone, like, you know, in his hand or whatever it was, you know, below where people could see it. And someone was on the phone. You know, so that would imply that he knew something was going to happen. And then immediately put the phone to his ear, which is a weird thing to do, right? You know, I mean, whatever. If he dialed somebody, I mean, he didn't, like she said, he didn't have time to dial. And, you know, he was talking to somebody in less than a second after Charlie was killed, was shot, which is completely fucked, right? And so, you know, that's all highly suspicious. Now, like this stuff, these details I'm not really all that into, but I wanted to show this thing just because, like, I don't care. Because I know, like, it's completely fucking fallen apart, the narrative. She's got these details and people need them. I don't know why you would need them at this point. That the official story is not believable. You know, she has all these videos and clips and people send her stuff. But there's more than enough evidence now to show that this is bullshit, right? So you have in the people that surround Charlie Kirk, especially his wife Erika, because it's about Erika, you have all these people that are around him who are, you know, not looking at any of the information comes out. So, you know, this happened with the big event 2001, 9/11. And so back then, you could post about that. And for you guys who missed that whole time in the truth community, it was like the best time in the truth community. I mean, there's so many people making videos. And, you know, some of them are disinformation. A lot of the thermite thing is bullshit. There's a lot of things that, you know, I believe it to be a handheld nuke. You know, I've talked about that. I've got 3 videos up on my Apocalypse Now channel. It's linked at the back of this in this video for those people interested in that. You know, my channel I used to post on, and I haven't posted in a while. And I've tried to get back to that, but it's just, you know. But that time period, there's so many videos of, like, just there's so many video clips and things that debunk the official story, and they just ignored them, which they'll do here, the official people. And Trump's the official people. It's his people in there. These are all Trumpers. These are all MAGA people. Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, who's disappeared, and, you know, all the rest of them, Trump and his cronies, and all these people who are Epstein people are now not Epstein people anymore, and, you know, Trump is like, you know, all that stuff. You know, King Charles got heckled at some church for his brother's relationship with Epstein. Like, he was there yelling. I don't have that video, but I saw a headline, like, on the bottom of, like, CNN. And hopefully I'll remember to look at that for the next video I do here. But, you know, there's that element. Like, people are just aware of it, but you're never going to get anything from them. But the people around Charlie Kirk, they all have to be in on it. So whatever happened to him, either he's still alive, or he had a fake marriage, or, you know, there's all these different scenarios. And but if he's dead, all those people that are now running Turning Point killed him, and Israel was, you know, the big culprits. Like, it's, there's no question that they had the biggest motive. They had the most to lose from Charlie Kirk continuing his process of decoupling, deshekling, right? His deshekling process. And he might not have desheckled, but like it seemed like he was gonna. And there's all this pressure on him. And they were slamming him for, they ran their game. Like when they start calling you anti-Semitic, that's like, saying we're gonna end you in one way or another. We're gonna destroy you in one way or another if you don't keep your mouth shut and just say exactly what we tell you to say. He was receiving talking points. He's rebelling against that. And so the evidence is overwhelming. And so now it's just up to Candace Owens to start naming names other than, she's naming some of the names of people at Turning Point, but Erika Kirk is the person running it right now. And she had that fake-ass performance, which is obviously fake, and the rest of it. So let's go through this other stuff here. Okay, so she talks about this one guy, and I just want to cover this briefly because this is not really any new news, but it's to go with that other, if you put those two things together. Some guy who's on the phone immediately when Charlie Kirk is shot, and this guy who immediately goes and takes the camera down. People said it was a hologram machine. I covered this before.
Taking down the camera, I said, what is this? Why are you here? Literally, why are you standing next to Charlie? I've never, at any college event ever in 6 years, had that man standing next to me at an event, okay? Sometimes he wasn't even there. Other times, of course, when you are in AV, your job.
Okay, so the guy did AV, and he was always in the background. He was never on the stage, and apparently he was mic'd up on top of it, which seemed weird, because why would he have a microphone? But him going and grabbing the camera immediately after. So there was two things that happened. That guy grabbing the camera, and remember, she talked to that guy, and he gave her some footage, and maybe he was, nervous about his role. And the other guy being on the phone and some of these other things, it's suspicious. And that's just the beginning. Like, the whole story's falling apart. And so, if a story falls apart, and the powers that be just completely ignore it, so she can expose, there could be a smoking gun or something that, something even much more, this is just suspicious. There's a lot of suspicious stuff that they're showing, right? And the other story's not very believable, and we've had the Patsy thing before. The singular lone gunman guy who, nobody buys that shit. JFK Jr. 10 years ago, JFK, 10 years ago, it was like 60% did not believe in the official story. And, something like 50% now don't believe in the official story of 9/11. Maybe even more. That was just some years ago. The majority of Americans don't believe in the official story of these things. And there was the release of the JFK files, which did nothing under Trump. Everyone knows there's more information elsewhere. But Trump didn't come in and say, all right, let's give them the stuff that they want. Let's tell them the truth. He doesn't even have the capacity to do that. And doesn't want to. Trump's not really a truther. Trump's a grifter, right? Grifters don't want the truth to come out. And grifters have a lot of things they're hiding themselves, and it can be easily manipulated and blackmailed, which we know. He's all shackled up. He doesn't want that stuff to come out. They don't want the truth to come out. Grifters, they're the opposite. They're liars and deceivers, right? And so a grifter is going to be opposed to that kind of thing. But, they're never going to tell you the truth. Operation Ajax in Iran, the CIA finally admitted that they got rid of Mossadegh 60 some odd years later, when everybody who's involved with the thing cares about it is dead. And they don't do anything to take responsibility for what happened to Iran now, and then end up bombing Iran in a way that's just completely bullshit because they've been shackled. And so, the truth never becomes anything. People know it. People are suspicious of it. They don't give a shit about that because you don't have a choice of truth. When you go to vote, you don't have a truther to vote for. You don't have a person who's going to bring out the truth, who's going to make sure that this stuff people are held accountable and responsible. That's never an option at the ballot box. And so as long as you're stuffing your fat face with fucking, processed foods and, whatever, it is. You got internet, you got electricity, and you have a good life, which Americans do. People aren't going to riot or rebel over something like this. People will be upset and they'll like get into it and they'll want to know the truth for themselves. And, it's a whole, they've captured the truth community because they know that people won't really do anything. And so they use it as a distraction. They use it as a way, there's a reason why you're hearing this stuff from Candace Owens. Like she says, oh my God, they might try to kill me and all these things. Why would they try to kill her? Like they now have a truth or narrative. They have a rabbit hole to go down whenever they make one, whenever these events happen. They already have it planned. Maybe all these people on the phones and things that they're doing is part of that. All right, let's throw all these things out there. And so the people who are like want to go down the rabbit hole can go down the rabbit hole, but they're never going to, it's never going to affect the thing. It's just, it's just what people do now. It creates a lot of, a lot of suspicion and whatever it might be, but they just, it's a distraction and there's no harm, no foul, right? So none of this stuff matters. Like she's like, pretending well, let's get into it here. All right, there's one thing here, that detail that I thought would be interesting.
That he had spoken only to Erika and the feds.
So she called that guy who took the camera. Remember, I covered this a while ago. This was a big thing that was going around at the time.
He had, regarding the footage, that is, he specifically told me that, as I said earlier, that he had secured that footage because he wanted to prevent Erika, as I told you, from having to relive that moment. And that made entirely no sense to me. I told you guys, because we all can watch Charlie Kirk be murdered over and over and over and over and over again. So how are you sparing any emotions here?
But, him talking to Erika immediately afterwards. Hey, I got some footage of your husband being killed. What should I do with it? Like, that's, again, it's a weird thing for him to say, right? Like, he talked to the feds about the footage. And again, Candace Owens said there's no blood from behind. And later on, she was given the report that the bullet wasn't a caliber of bullet that came out of the grandfather's rifle thing from the, from the they them kid, that was the patsy. And so if she says she's seen the official report or talked to whatever these people, and so that the kid should not be. I mean, this is a rigged. If he doesn't have the murder weapon, if they find a different caliber bullet, then that whole case falls apart. But if they railroad the kid anyway, and that just shows you the whole thing. And nobody can stop it, right? The railroading of the kid. And maybe the kid isn't even go to jail. Like, is Luigi Mangione even in jail? Is he, is that his real name? Like, is any of these things? They just have some crisis actor. And it's always better when they have a dead body, when they kill the person, because then they don't have to go to trial and do all that bullshit. But that's not the case here. But maybe they want that. Maybe this is part of a truth or, rabbit hole distraction thing, right? But for the guy to say, he talked to Erika about it, a day after, that day. And guess what? I got footage of Charlie being shot. What should I do with it, right? Weird thing. That's the whole thing weird. And, Erika, if she was so grieving, why would she even take such a call? Why would she be dealing with any of that stuff? Like, wouldn't she have people in between her and the guy? She'd be there crying and dealing with her kids and all that shit. She wouldn't be dealing with fucking questions about footage. Your husband's just been shot. You'd be in a state of shock. Like, that's a CEO decision that wouldn't be made by her. Some of these other people would have to step in and say something and make these decisions. So that whole thing's weird. So it seems like she's talking about the same guy here. She says that when she talked to him, the guy who took down the camera, that they were doing a variety of things they had never done before. They had two people in Arizona who was live streaming, and they were part of the whole thing. And he said it was the first time they ever did this. And then and I think it's the same guy. It might be another guy. But here, this is...
two things that are pretty commonplace, right? You choose between fight or flight. You run towards him or you run away, and you run away far because you don't know what's happening. Is it one shot? Are there multiple people? Are you being pursued? There's no way to process that. If you are going to be in flight, you should be sprinting and maybe calling 911. That's what I would have done if I wanted to run away and not towards Charlie to make sure he's okay. But this second close friend of Charlie chose to run just a few yards away up to a grassy knoll to take out his phone. A couple of seconds later, he takes out his phone and he begins recording himself. It's a selfie video. Takes a video of himself. So let's watch that video.
They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie.
Who's they? Who is the they you're talking about? Is it Israel? Is it the liberals? Is it, who's the they, right? Is it the government? Is it Trump? Who is the they? The Republicans? Is it MAGA? Is it people at Turning Point? Is it Erika's clan? Like,
they just shot Charlie. He's dead. God help him.
okay, so another weird thing. And I'm not sure if that's the guy who took down the camera. All these guys were hired by Tyler Boyer, I believe is his name. That's, she always is hammering that guy. He's the guy who came out and said the feds ordered the other guy to take down the camera. And he seems to be somebody, But there's all these, Judased, right? That she's implying. And, it's, she slow walks everything, right? I'm going to go eat breakfast, and I'll show you the clip of the dream part. That's the kind of the big reveal here in this video. Okay, so that guy who posted the selfie and announced that Charlie Kirk was dead, that was the first time anybody announced it, right? So this is, he went into the back of that car, and whenever they came out and said he was dead, this guy said it was dead, right? And this guy would then go and grab the cameras and the camera behind Charlie Kirk. So that's the same fucking guy. And he would make the mistake of talking to Candace Owen and saying a bunch of shit about them doing all kinds of new things. And, it seems like somebody who had some kind of, I want to get caught reaction, unless he's this was his role or script that he was following, right? Which we, as far as we know, that's a good possibility that this is all for our benefit, as whatever it is, people who don't believe the official story. Like, the majority of people don't believe the official story anymore, right? So, that's a problem. And the people who are around Charlie Kirk weren't going to buy the official story. They need a pathway for those people, and Candace Owens is providing it, and I would assume, I don't know. Is she, she's certainly a part of the beast, right? She's a famous person with millions of views in this thing. But she has taken it to Turning Point. That's the one redeeming thing about what she's doing. Because regardless of what her role is here, those people at Turning Point are fucking horrible. That show is horrible. It was horrible when Charlie Kirk did it. And he was horrible. But she's, of course, not all about, she's all about Charlie Kirk. But this part here.
Elf, I get assassinated. You're talking about my succession plan. A couple of days later, I get assassinated. You're lying about little things about me. Everything Turning Point is doing is wrong. And you know it's wrong. You know it's wrong deep down. And I want to say this because there has been a lot of reading in between the lines. It's strange to me. I think I'm a very direct person and I say what I mean. And I do not want people to mistake what's happening right now or to wrongly assume my intentions here. So allow me to be very explicit, okay? I want war with all of you, okay? All of you. And there's a reason. I'm going to get to that reason in a little bit.
Okay, she's just kind of unbearable. Just the way, I don't know if it's condescending or, just the way that she presents it. Like, she's kind of funny. I mean, there's stuff that's funny. She has a way of presenting things that are funny, but just her tone and that whole thing. And I don't know if it's because she's from Connecticut and I have an aversion to Connecticut. Like, I'll never go back there, right? It's where I was, born and raised. Not my favorite place, probably a beautiful state. Like, there's, beaches in Connecticut and beautiful. I mean, it's a nice place. America's a beautiful country. I mean, there's beautiful places all over the world, and America has a lot of them because the Native Americans kept things pristine, and we have, some of the greatest stuff here in terms of like the redwood forests and the canyon lands in Arizona, the Grand Canyon and Bryce Canyon, these places, and Red Rock and all that stuff, which they have in other countries as well. But then we have some major stuff, Niagara Falls and in Florida, right? Like just the whole state of Florida. Beautiful place. I mean, for someone who likes nature, I'm very privileged to be here. We're all privileged, and some of these places are still kept somewhat pristine. There's places that people can go. But Connecticut is the culture there and the people. It's just not for me. But she continues on here.
You are going to convince me and the rest of the world that all of this...
Go back just one more second.
All of you. Because I know this isn't right. And there is no way you are going to convince me and the rest of the world that all of this is normal.
You don't have to convince anybody of anything. This thing will die. The story's already dying. So they're the turning point people and the people who are, spectator rubbernecking, they've taken some interest in this. And that's going to fade. It always does. I've been doing this now. I've been a part of this thing since 2005. I've had a YouTube channel since 2007. And, I've seen these things. Since, the big event 2001, and I've seen these stories come and go. I mean, why aren't we still talking about 9/11? Why aren't we still talking about Pizzagate? Why aren't we still talking about any number of these things, right? COVID. Why aren't we talking about, what happened, I don't know, a couple of months ago? So, and all it is talk, right? It has no bearing. There's no plan to do anything about it, right? There's no, you have to have leverage, right? You have to have some leverage to make people tell the truth. You'd have to be able to blackmail people because that's the fucking scum that you're dealing with here. Again, I'll get into the whole spiritual aspect of this in a moment, when she starts talking about dreams and Charlie. But in terms of the material aspect of it, and our system, our political system, our system of media, you can't make the media do their job. You can't make the justice system do their job. And also, there are people who can make them do things by threatening them. They hold power over them. That doesn't make these people, anything more than just scumbags who have power. But they do have power. And if they don't do things like this, the system will implode. I mean, there needs to be a constant distraction from the essential truth that this system's a bad system. It's demonic, and it's hurting us and the world, and we should just, reject it and suffer the consequences. But people will never do that for obvious reasons. So, this is just all part of it. Like, this is just part of it, right? And people kind of deep down know that, right? Is it this video I talked about this thing with the leverage, or is that with, I think it was my last video with, Trump, taint licking at the Knesset. And he could just say to them, we're going to cut off funds, right? Like I said to my son, I'm the only thing preventing you from homelessness. Where you have leverage and people realize it, you say, hey, but that's not something that, the humanity has, right? Everyone else has, because people enjoy their lifestyle and they're part of the thing. And if we did that, the system would implode. So, people would choose the system to keep on going than to honor truth, right? Or to be truthful. I mean, if you have a choice between fighting rats for scraps and garbage cans, whatever's going on in terms of a post-apocalyptic situation, give up all your lifestyle, electricity, and all the rest of it, and have truth, people will take the pill and go back into the matrix, right? And so that's where everyone's at.
We're not just going to keep on going and jump into a succession plan. We're going to figure out what the hell happened on September 10th first.
And nothing's going to happen. She can find out exactly what happened. And maybe she can, I don't know. And tell everybody on her show that gets 2-point-something million views. And that's nothing. Like, that's a fraction of humanity. Trump will ignore it. Turning Point will ignore it. Erika Kirk will ignore it. They'll just keep on going because they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to answer these questions. They don't get pulled in front of Congress and ask about it, right? The Democrats aren't going to haul them in and ask them about this because they have so many of their own things. If they did, it would be just performative, and there'd be some fake investigation, and nothing will ever come of it. We know what they do. We've seen it before. They just don't deal with it. They pretend you're just, they call you crazy, and only a fraction of the people know, all these things. People have already lost interest, right? She has whatever amount of views on this thing. I'll check that in a moment, but she'll get 2+ million views on this video. She's going to do another video tomorrow, and she can do videos all week about this. And unless some bombshell thing comes out, it's not even really interesting to me anymore. I mean, because of it's reached its apotheosis, right? This story has it's peaked. And that's just the way it is. People move on. They're like, all right, what else is new? Let's move on to something else. Trump got an MRI, and it's perfect. He said it was a perfect MRI. It was just so perfect. There's just these stories. They just come and they go. Okay, so this is the point I want to get to. I saw this clip last night, a short clip of this. She's talking about her dream that she had where Charlie said that he was betrayed. And she gets into how everyone was triggered by her talking about her dream and whatever it is, right? And then this happens here.
We're fishing, right? So let's be patient. What I want you guys to know about Charlie is he also used to dream very vividly. Because we traveled together so much, he would wake up, we would text, and he would tell me about those vivid dreams. And we talked about a lot of things, as you do when you get to know somebody. We talked about the spiritual realm. We talked about religion, our faith, most importantly, what our life's purpose was. And there was this period in April where Charlie kept insisting to me over and over again that he was going to die young. In fact, he told me that Turning Point USA was going to be the death of him. And I'm going to allow you to read his words. And it's funny how this came about because when I was in Wyoming, I went outside, I was writing, physically needed to write, to put pen to paper and to pray. And I was sitting in the sun overlooking the mountains. And right when I concluded my prayer, I opened my eyes and I saw a massive bald eagle. And it just made me feel at peace. It's one of those moments where you just are in.
Yeah, was it wearing a yarmulke? Because Charlie Kirk was not serving America, right? Because Charlie Kirk was Shekels. Charlie Kirk was a servant of Israel, right? So, that's the problem with their stuff here. She's trying to aggrandize this piece of shit. He was, he deserved everything. I mean, I'm not talking about his death, but all these things. When you go into a business with murderers, like legalized murderers that are worse than the mob, right? That, and that are living a dysfunctional existence. I mean, we're talking about a country that can't sustain itself. So they're desperate, clinging on to something that can't be. And so all the manipulations, all the Machiavellian kind of shit that they have to do to keep America, to be a parasite to America, right? To keep the American host from turning on it. And Charlie Kirk was a part of that. Like, he's betraying America. He was betraying his religion. He was betraying his viewers and his followers, right? And so he's not an American eagle.
Nature, you see something beautiful and it makes you feel at peace. And then I felt the need to start going through messages and conversations between me and Charlie. And sure enough, I stumbled upon many messages of him telling me how he would die. And I'm going to show you some of those messages now.
So she's saying she stumbled on them. Like, wouldn't you remember that? Like, when it happened? She has a good memory, right? When you remember, hey, I remember when he texted me about this. Like, she's waiting this long to drop these messages.
A particular set of messages that were written on April 6th, 2018, just a couple of weeks before Kanye tweeted, "I love the way Candace Owens thinks," which is relevant because a lot of things changed after that tweet. And it's relevant because Charlie sensed that something big was about to happen. And I think that is what the something big was. I also want to say, obviously, I am not making up these messages, okay? Turning point. Actually, Mikey McCoy has access to all of Charlie Kirk's messages. They can tell you that these ones are real. Here is what he wrote. We were again talking about Kanye. Charlie wrote to me, "You're going to be the Iron Lady of America." He had such a political vision for me. I never wanted that sort of a thing. I see it so freaking clearly. I might be Moses, though. I might not see this whole thing through. LMAO. If that is the case, be my David.
Yeah, gather as many foreskins as possible. Not 200, not 100, 200 to go all in. The thing about this is Moses wasn't great, and neither was David. David was very murderous and whatever. Like, the Old Testament, these aren't real spiritual people, but they're magnified, right? So they are, people think about people in the Bible as being bigger than life. They become godlike, or superhero-like, or whatever it is, right? Famous, And this is very self-aggrandizing because he was sheckled up, and he was created by Shekels. He was made by money. You can become he had whatever talents he had. Like, he had to go out there and talk in front of people and, whatever. But, we've seen how dumb people are. We see how the, dumb fuckistan works. And if something becomes popular, people just all start gravitating to it because they don't have their own opinions. They don't have their own preferences. And so you prop somebody up with money. They did this with Ben Shapiro. And people are like, well, this guy must be, doing pretty well. Like, people look at the numbers, right? I mean, you can see Turning Point right now. It's nothing. Nobody gives a shit about that shitty YouTube channel. And, Charlie Kirk had not some great video views either. You can't have all of them, but if they're putting out sometimes 2 or 3 a day. But as many as subscribers he has and much influence he's supposed to have, isn't that many people. He had some millions of views. Her video right now has 2 million views. People are waiting for this video for 2 weeks. These Turning Point people. But, that's nothing. 2 million is nothing, right? I mean, 5 million is nothing, 100 million is only a third of the country. Like, that's not even a majority. You can't get something done with the 100 million, right? I mean, in terms of voters, yeah, people don't vote, so that's a lot in terms of voters. If somebody gets 100 million votes, but the president only gets, 60, 70 million votes. And so that's nothing. That's like a fourth of the population, right? And so
I said, dude, you haven't even realized your power yet. You're so young, is what I was thinking. He said, if I tell you the true prophecy that I know in my gut, it's really sad, but I hope it's wrong. He went on to say, anyway, I am not sure if I will live to see the end of this revolution.
It's not a revolution, right? Like, it's nothing. You were Charlie Shekels, and then you got Trump elected, and then they shot you. Then you turned on Israel a little bit. I mean, that's the story here. They're trying to make him into some kind of saint or whatever to those people. But that organization and him himself, they're not spiritual at all. There's no God in this, right? I mean, no spiritual God. Like, they have fictionary God, like a God of religion.
I believe you were the piece that God meant me to meet that will finish the fight. Since the beginning of TPUSA, I knew in my gut that I might get wiped out at any time. I cannot explain it, but I dream about it all the time, like all the time. Anyway, that's depressing combo for another time, LMAO.
Okay, so this is before him and Erika Kirk got married, right? So he was, and who knows if this was just some passing thing that he did. That's what they try to say at Turning Point, that he would say shit all the time, and then he would say the exact opposite to somebody else or something contradictory to somebody else. So there's all that, right? But for Candace Owens, if she, believes that this was part of this is a prophecy, right? This is, he has a vision of his future, which, he does if this is true, and these, messages, which, her messages have been proven true before, right? So then why bother? Because everything comes from God. When I think about my life, and especially now after years of doing meditation, having everything come from God, like not thinking of anything coming from the controllers. One of the things that the controllers want, the people I call the controllers, and that could be any group or all of them, all the people who use this kind of power and influence to control things on planet Earth, they are doing God's bidding unwillingly, and they don't even know it. Like Trump is doing God's work by destroying America, as was Joe Biden, as was all these people. Like when America has to come down, it'll come down. The divine will cannot be denied. And so the divine plan cannot be denied. We can't, we think we're making choices and we're not, right? Like this thing is just going to go the way it's supposed to go. There's a plan and it's going to be followed to whatever extent. And the people that will show up to do the work that's necessary. And if it's destructive work, it's destructive work, and something has to be destroyed. And so they want you to think they control things. That's the illusion. But their power is limited to a short period of history. Maybe 1,000 years, it's nothing. 10,000 years is nothing, right? And, this power of this system that we have now, and the people that run it, you have a short lifespan, maybe 100 years at best. You're not worth anything after 70, like in terms of material decisions and power. Like people cling on to their lives, and their bodies are betraying them. Their bodies are, whatever it is. So, it's God's will. Whatever happens to me is God's will. I don't care if I'm not going to be assassinated, because why would I be, right? But, Charlie's death, everyone's got a death story. Everyone's got has a death plan, right? There's then you can have an early exit. There's some, when I was 14 years old, I fell off a zip line, and that could have been an early exit, right? I could have chosen not to come back. I could have came back as somebody else and done the Sizemore system, whatever it was. Like there's early exits you have. Sometimes the life goes awry or whatever, and the soul pulls the plug on it. But you have a death story, and Charlie's death was painless. That's what this Candace Owens was saying. This happened quickly. But, then who gives a shit about these people that killed him? They're just fulfilling the prophecy that he himself gave about his own death, right? Like he was having dreams about it, he was prepared about it, right? And there's that kind of thing. There's a guy who does the Sizemore meditation. And I knew the guy's brother. And he was living in Alaska. And his son was shot and killed by a friend, like an accidental shooting. His son's friend was, his dad was like ex-military and like a not stable father. And the kid got access to his, one of his handguns and accidentally shot this kid's son. And I was, at that time, was, understanding, doing research into the idea of the Second Amendment being something that would prevent tyranny, right? Like, I don't believe in, I'm not a gun person, but, I understand the need for firearms to prevent tyranny. That's what the Second Amendment was all about. We can see that these places that don't have guns, that's one of the things they can just, they can just bully you, right? They can do the same things they're doing here, but then exert physical force, and you don't have anything to do about it. But you have all these ex-military people in the American population, all these people that think of themselves as patriots, and they're well armed, and there'd be a problem. America is a little different than these other countries, right? But I wasn't going to say that to this guy because he was an anti-gun person, because his son was shot and killed by just an unnecessary thing. But his son there's a couple of prophetic things. One of his neighbors came over and said she had a dream before he was shot, and the guy's son was in it. And he came and said that everything's all right, this is part of a plan. The kid was like 10 years old, so it's a really hard thing, right? And so, but he had these things, and I can't remember all of them, but they were part of it. I mean, it helped this guy adjust to it because he realized it was part of a plan, right? It was like not a desirable thing, but it was going to happen for whatever reason, right? So, you have these types of things. And if it is coming from God, then you have to accept it. Like when things are, there's people that are pieces of shit and they hurt you, but it also comes from God. All the stuff to do with my ex, the reason I was able to just let all that stuff go, the nightmare. Plus, she was a psychologically messed up person from being sexually abused by her dad and physically and emotionally abused by her mom, which was like even worse. And so she was a broken, fractured person, so that was part of it, right? And she was, cutting herself and suicidal, and that led to my daughter picking up on those behaviors, all that shit, And so, I went through a fucking hell. But, I knew it was better. It was like all the stuff I went through made me into a better person because of the spiritual, the spiritual aspect of it, the cleaning aspect. Like I was supposed to go through that, right? And so, yes, it sucks that she was a horrible person in this thing. You have horrible people, but oftentimes these horrible people help you on a spiritual level, right? So if Charlie believed that this was part of God's will, then, what is Candace Owen doing here, right? Like, I mean, and great, these people are liars and pieces of shit, and they're, but he was a liar, piece of shit, and they were all fucking taking money from, criminals. I mean, people who are worse than criminals. So
I said, that's weird, more of a fear manifestation than an actualization. He said, I'm not really afraid of it, but I'm just telling you what I know to be true. And he told me that. I don't know why. Charlie knew he was going to die young. And I don't know. I just felt like I needed to share that because it is in part why the moment that Charlie got shot, I just knew he was betrayed spiritually in the same way that Charlie knew.
But he wasn't betrayed. See, that's like a silly way to look at it when, I mean, all these people who hate the whatever they call the leader of the Jewish religion, the Pharisees, and hate Jewish people because of Jesus, but then say Jesus was killed by his dad, that God wanted to sacrifice him for all of us, like all these things. And, you can't believe both things. It's a big problem for Christians, right? Like then you have to accept these things are happening. They're not bad. The system coming down is not a punishment. It's not bad. It's what's supposed to happen because it's a fucking bad system, right? Charlie was fucked. His life was fucked because he's received $100 million from fucking Israel. He was trying to be a patriot and a Christian. You can't have both fucking things. You can't serve multiple masters. And Trump's a piece of shit. Like, you guys got Trump elected, and you're admitting now that Trump's a piece of shit, and he doesn't care about Charlie, and he's going along with the official story. Because, they're all pieces of shit. You guys did nothing but bad things. You accomplished nothing but get Trump a second term. And had you not done that, it would have been Kamala, and it would have been some other way. The system would be taken down. There's nothing good here. There's nothing to be saved. There's nothing to salvage in terms of the system, in terms of all of it. We're going in the wrong direction. We're going against God's will, and there's contingencies for that, right? And so, I just found this annoying, the way she presents information, and the way she says she's setting traps, and she's fishing, she's putting out the bait, and these guys, Josh Hammer, these other people, all these people at Turning Point take the bait. And it's a hostile relationship, and I dislike Turning Point, and it isn't a spiritual organization. Erika Kirk is so fake, and I'll cover this because I'm already in it, right? But there's nothing to see here, right? There's just nothing. Like there's nothing, redeeming. There's no conclusion. There's no resolution. I mean, everything I'm telling you is obviously what happened. The guy took shekels, hundreds of millions of shekels, and he had to serve a fucking a parasitic entity that was hurting America in various ways because some bullshit biblical stuff that's not even real. Whatever is in the Bible, there's good stuff, but the Bible isn't what people think it is. I mean, the people who believe in it, right? It's not the Word of God. It's not, some spiritual doctrine, that text and whatever that you need to follow. It's a remedial book. And the first part of it's just bad. It's fucking, the Jewish Bible, the Old Testament, the way they present God, like I say over and over again, is a sociopathic demon, right? God is ordering sacrifices and war, and he's petty and jealous and fucking torturing people, and Moses and the Exodus, and he's just a piece of shit, right? It's not a fucking divine, it's not a divine being. It's not real God. It's not even a good, it's not an immature idea of a good God. We learn and we experience God on higher levels. That's what spirituality is. That what you thought God was yesterday is not what God is today. Like if I go back and watch my old videos, I can say, I would do this, I would say it this way, or I would present it this way. If I would watch any of my old videos, I would find ways that, not that I'm hypercritical, it's just that my videos have gotten better and I've gotten better. And I could go back and say, I would do this thing differently, and I would do this thing, and this is how I would do this. Because if you're getting better and you're evolving, you see your work becomes something where you could correct or do a better job. Like, you do the best job as you can today, and you did the best job you did 10 years ago, but your job that you do now should be better. Your work should be improving. You should be improving as a person. Interactions you had with family members or people. I would do it so much more, I would do it differently now. That's a good thing. It's like, okay, yeah, you're evolving. You see that where you were before, you are moving forward. It's the same thing with God. Your understanding of God yesterday or 2 weeks ago isn't going to be what it is today, right? And that should be something everybody can understand. And so I'll put this in the Journey series. I put this as important to save. I'll have to save this audio here. But this is all of these things. It's like it wasted your time, right? You're just toiling. And I don't mind her doing this because it's kind of entertaining. And Turning Point, this is part of this, whatever it is. But it'll play out. It'll just disappear. Nothing will happen because nothing ever does. You're not going to get any resolution or anybody admit the truth. Because if they admitted the truth, the system would collapse. If we would all admit the truth, which is this system is fucking demonic. It's a demonic system, top to bottom. There are good things in it, things that, we enjoy, at least, things that make us happy, things that we can't live without, pleasures, whatever. But that, it's top to bottom, it's demonic. And it's disconnected us from God. Our religion sucks. These people's, whatever it is. People are de-evolving. It's idiocracy. It's bad. It goes against God's will. It needs to come to an end. That's what, and then what after that, right? What is there? It's a showstopper, right? The whole thing's pointless. People are toiling, trying to keep a system that everyone knows is doomed and goes against God's will. On some level, everyone knows that. And are toiling, trying to keep the system going. And so all these things that she's saying and, all these things that are being done or not done and all the stuff with Tim and his dreams and all this stuff and all the corruption. Yeah, people stabbed him in the back. But it was part of there was the inevitable end to a guy who got shackled up, right? He made a deal with the devil, and this is how it ended up. There's nothing, there's no accomplishments that he had that were organic and were good. They come from being shekels, right? And pushing a fucking piece of shit guy like Trump, who ultimately is going to run the country into the ground. And that's God's will. He's doing God's will, and he's a demon, and he's doing God's will. That's just how it is, right? So, we can just accept it, like just accept that fucking reality and then deal with it personally. But, we should all know by now. It's just right in front of our fucking faces anyway.
Knew that he was going to die young. I knew that this was a part of something bigger. And so I wanted to say to you guys, to the people that betrayed Charlie, I would recommend that you come clean, okay? I would recommend that you come clean because Charlie said some other things, and I look at these things now and I think, wow, it's almost prophetic, right? It's almost prophecy, and I can tell you that this is a story that will have a happy ending, a tragedy that will have a happy ending. The world is going to learn the truth about this. They are.
The world is, or 2 billion people. I mean, that's whatever. Let's say it's 4 million people who get to watch this stuff, from clips that people take or whatever. And all the people that talk about this on the internet. And maybe she has other platforms too she put this stuff out on. But she's getting 2 million views. That's not the world. And it's not going to be the consensus of the truth, right? She's, first of all, her saying that this is something much bigger. If this was his destiny, this is God's will, then why not accept it? Why not accept God's will? And like I said, I like to see the turning point thing happen. Again, this is also, they do this now where they put out a secondary narrative to deal with the truthers. So that's this thing. That's also controlled in whatever way. But there's no outcome. Like, why would they confess? Why would they come clean? I mean, they're not good people, so why would they do that? They lose their jobs. They would, maybe be killed by the same people, whatever it is, right? You think that, coming clean, what would that do? If all the people came clean, if Erika Kirk said that she was in on her husband's death, how would that go for her? I mean, other than what you're going to post here, in terms of the betrayal, you might have little bits of evidence and people will believe it. Some, even if it's millions of people, even if it's millions of Turning Point people, that doesn't mean shit. What are they going to do with it? Well, how is it going to get worse than what they would do if they confessed, right? We already know this from Me Too. Like, you take Woody Allen and you take Louis C.K. What Woody Allen did was way worse than what Louis C.K. did. But Louis C.K. admitted to what he did, and he was canceled on a much bigger level than what Woody Allen was. Like, Louis C.K. Or these other people, right? These various people, the ones who admitted to it, are way worse off. They didn't get credit for coming clean and giving some resolution to their victims and things, right? Which would have been, it would have been something, right? It would have been like better. What they did was better than keep on lying. But why the fuck would they come clean? And why do you care about it if he already knew it was going to happen? Then this was part of God's plan. This is all part of God's plan. And so, her doing this is also part of God's plan. And then all the people, babbling about it, but it's going nowhere. It's a systemic issue. We have a demonic system, and Charlie was a demonic piece in a demonic system doing demonic work for demonic countries and politicians and people. And so there's nothing to see here. There's no loss, right? Turning Point's not a loss. It's a piece of shit organization. It's showing you, it's made up of people who would murder a guy for their own personal benefit, right? Did I say that guy who did the selfie video was also the guy who was the same guy who took the cameras? So he saw Charlie get killed, went and did all that shit, and then went and took the cameras down, and then talked to Candace Owens like a moron. And now all these videos, he's got a video. Why would that selfie even leak? Like, wouldn't you think that people would be like, delete that fucking thing, right? People at Turning Point, it's so fucking incriminating. Why fucking do that? Delete it. Like, how did she even get a hold of it? How's that even something that comes out? I mean, it's fucking moronic, right? It's like totally suspicious. You might as well point a finger at yourself and say you did it, right?
I would recommend that you come clean. There are lines in the sand that are being drawn right now between good and evil.
This is the thing that she does. And she makes it all about it. Fucking, you're not fucking a demon hunter. You're not anything. This is why she's so annoying. Like, you're nothing. Like, this is nothing. This is a fucking, you guys are all corrupt. You were part of it. You were taking the money. You were getting free plane tickets, and you were doing whatever you were doing with Turning Point until you decided to call them out, Israel, on the genocide. And then they turned on you, and then you went and did your own thing, and you married a fucking billionaire or whatever. You know, Jesus Christ. Like, this is not, there's no demon hunting going on. This is a fucking, you know, you could, I mean, you could, again, I'm not saying anybody should do this, right? I'm just like saying you could fire a gun in Washington, D.C. and hit a demon, right? I mean, you don't even have to aim, right? Like, it's fucking, like, you know, what are you talking about? These are all corrupt people. These are, egos run amok. People are thwarting God's will as best they can. You know, trying to prevent God's will from being done, which is, you know, the end of a demonic system, and, you know, building something better. And when it comes time, the system will implode. Empires fall. Things die. And there's nothing to see here, right? Again, I don't mind her doing it because, you know, this is kind of funny and interesting, but it's just so icky, right? This whole.
Many of you have picked the evil side. Do you podcasters, people that make videos, people that are taking money, tell people don't look over there? I would recommend you stop doing that. You don't have to listen to me. You probably won't listen to me.
But why? What's going to happen to them? What do you think? They're going to be turned to pillars of salt? What the fuck do you think is going to happen? Nothing's going to happen to them on the material level. They're already fucked spiritually. So why would they do this? Why would they come clean? It would just, you know, destroy their lives, and they don't have fucking something else, right? And so just, it's silly stuff. There's one more thing. It's getting hard for me to listen to this, but there's one more thing here.
You should be scared, but you're the wrong kind of scared, okay? Fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. There is more.
You should never fear God. And that's the problem with the Old Testament. That's the problem with Christianity. God is not to be feared. God is love, right? So the reason that you are scared, people are scared of God, is because God can see stuff in you that you don't want to see in yourself. So when you meet a spiritual person, you know, the third master of the Sizemore system, Master Chargy, was intimidating in various ways. But for me personally, I could see that he saw stuff in me that I didn't want to see in myself. Like, it was just there. Like, someone could look at you and see everything, right? And when you meet people like that, or you come across people like that, it's disconcerting when you are deluding yourself, right? When you are not, you know, self-aware of you're not even, you're just your lower nature, but your higher nature. Like I've said this so many times, people are more scared, you know, people are scared of the deep potential demon within them, but they're even more scared of the potential saint, right? Because when you go full spiritual and you embrace the divinity within you, you do things and your life is different, like in a way that's scary, right? Because, you know, you're now just, you're completely dependent on God in a way, like I was saying before, that is, you lose control, the ego loses control. You no longer are in charge of your own choices. You have to do whatever God wants you to do, and sometimes a lot of times it's something you don't want to do. And it's terrifying. The potential saint, to become a saint, is even more terrifying than becoming a demon. Like, a demon is, you know, your ego's in control. But a saint, God's in control, and people are scared of that. So, you know, this idea of fearing God, there's no fear there. You know, God just wants what's best for you, right? But what's best for you is not what's best for your ego. That's why people are scared of God. And that's, you know, they've pushed this thing, these religions have pushed this idea that there's a wrathful God because they're trying to control people. You know, what do you do with people? Let's say you're really a good religious leader. You're part of a religion. You really want people just to fucking not, you know, kill their neighbors and, you know, bang their neighbors' wives. And you want to steal and all these things, like the 10 Commandments. You know, you have all these horrible fucking people. And you want to teach them to just be fucking reasonable. I mean, they're going to crucify people. And they're going to fucking torture people. I'm just horrible fucking shit that people will do, human sacrifices. And you're a saint, and you're just trying to get them to do it. And, you know, you try to appeal to their higher nature. I mean, this is something that, you know, anybody who's done spiritual work understands this. Anybody who's tried to, you know, disseminate spiritual information. And you just really try to get people just to fucking not do fucking horrific shit. and never mind be spiritual, never mind be good, heartful, loving people. And you're just trying, and they just fucking won't do it. They're just like fucking dumb fuckistan motherfuckers who just won't do it. And you're just sitting there going, well, what can I do? And so you start threatening them some way. You try to tell them God's going to fucking get them. You know, you turn God into a boogeyman because fucking people are dumb fucks and they suck, right? And you can't appeal to their higher nature because they don't have one, like so many people. And not even people who are necessarily bad, but they're just so ignorant, so like remedial. They don't have the ability for abstract thought. And, you know, they can't see the brighter picture, and they're animalistic in their behaviors. And you just can't raise them up, right? And that's why Jesus was like praying to die. Like lots of these saints come in, pray to die because the people just fucking let them down so much, right? And so that's why there's a fear of God. There's no real fear of God. You shouldn't fear God, right? Because like, you know, the idea that somehow you're going to be punished, you know, more severely because you're you know, whatever you're doing is there's some level of, well, I fear God, so I won't be punished as much, right? No, like whatever, you're going to suffer your consequences. We all are. Like it's just there. If you believe God has a plan, then you know that you're fucked for all the shit that you do. Like, you know, if as soon as you realize there is a God and you really realize it, and that there is a plan, then you know you're fucked. Like, you know you're fucking yourself over every time you do something that's going to cause a consequence in the future. You know, people, that's what people are. That's what people do. And so, like, it's just silly. She's silly. The whole thing's silly. You know, all of this stuff. Anyways, I did a voiceover that I read some Whispers of a Brighter World, and I want to put it here. I'm not sure what's in it. It's a couple days ago, but I knew I was going to put the end of this video, so it's going to make it into a long video. But, you know, so let's wrap this one up here, and I'll play the voiceover. Okay, just one more thing here, just to wrap this up.
You should be scared, but you're the wrong kind of scared, okay? Fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. There is more. This is not it. I'm aware of that. That's why I've chosen to be on the side of goodness and truth, no matter what the cost is.
Yeah, when you backed Trump or you were back in Israel with Charlie Kirk, you know, you were on the wrong side. You won't admit to Trump being a piece of shit. I mean, you're kind of talking about now. You admit to Charlie Shekels being completely sheckled because, you know, that would not serve a purpose for your, you know, his martyrdom and what the fuck you're doing now, right? But, you know, you're not any of those things, right? You were on the wrong side. You say you're mistaken. Sure, it's great. You're mistaken. We all make mistakes, fine. But you weren't on the side of goodness and truth, right? You know, I'm sure I could go home and find all these videos of her saying stupid shit about liberals and, you know, backing Israel and doing whatever she was doing and partnering with Charlie Kirk to make this an abomination. You know, she's making it sound like everyone else sucks at TPUSA. And, you know, there's people leaking information to her. But other than that, and that Charlie Kirk was some kind of saint and angel, but he hired all these pieces of shit. But, you know, he was taking all this money from donors, and all these people are turning on him that gave him millions of dollars because they were paying him to fucking, shekeling him up. I mean, she just sucks. Like, everyone sucks, right? Because, you know, she's like whatever side you're on when you're on it. You know, when you're on the side of Israel before they turned on you, then you were on the side of truth and goodness. When you're on Trump's side and you were helping get Trump elected, you were on the side of truth and goodness and all these other things. So it's just silly. Like, it's just, you know, it's myopic way to view life, right? You either work for God or you don't. And you either have a plan. Either there is a plan, God has a plan, or he doesn't. There is either a God and there's a plan, or there's no God and there's no plan. And that we work for God and we're given information based in the need of the time, and you're doing God's work if you're, you know, submitting to God. But that's not what's happening here. You know, this is about justice. God doesn't give a shit about justice because it all ends up being just. Like, everything that's done's done for a reason. Everything's part of a plan, right? And this could be her, you know, her role to play. But that's all it is. Don't aggrandize it anymore. And the people that play the role that are destroying the country, or Trump playing his role or whatever. In terms of the material world, right? Like, because things have to be destroyed. Destruction isn't, you know, people have to die, right? We all have to die. There has to be an end to things. And there has to be a beginning. There's a middle, and there's an end, and there's a beginning, and a middle, and an end. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? And that's just, the flow of life. Anyways, I did this voiceover here. Let's get into it. So I was adding the clips to my timeline, my Premiere Pro thing about that. So I was playing the end of this in the background in case I missed anything. And, and I just got to end this thing. I just got to stop listening to it because it's just too much. But holy shit, Candace.
Okay. I am talking like through the ages famous. The kind of fame that most people cannot even comprehend. I cannot comprehend that level of fame. Like, I'm talking about the level of fame that can kill a name. You know what I mean? Like, nobody names their kid Judas anymore. Nobody names their kid Adolf anymore. I'm talking about that level of fame.
She gets into how she's against the death penalty. She was talking to Charlie about the death penalty, and she said, not because of why people say, killing people's wrong or whatever, because it gets off easy. You just kill somebody, they're dead. But making them suffer in these things. And then she's talking about these people, that they're going to be this kind of famous, like Adolf famous or Judas famous, right? That that she's comparing that fucking moron who made the selfie video and Erika, Kirk, and these other people that stabbed Charlie in the back, in this whatever it is. It's a fucking cold-hearted business, right? Charlie Kirk himself said he believed empathy was a fake thing made up by New Age people. These weren't good people, right? They were pushing for horrible shit, and the genocide of the people in Palestine. Charlie was all about it, right? He believes in the biblical rights of the land rights of the chosen people to have the profit, the land, the whatever the name of that thing is, the promised land by God. That bullshit stuff. Like, God doesn't promise land. And that ain't fucking God, bro. And so, like, she's thinking those guys, these dopes at Turning Point, are going to be Judas famous or Adolf famous. No, they're not going to be any of that shit, right? Just because you put them in a fucking YouTube video and a couple million people watch it, and they hear the names, we're going to move on to other shit, right? There's going to be real shit going down, World War III shit and other stuff, and collapse of society. And this stuff is all forgotten. And then no one will remember Adolf or Judas. There'll be a time where the Christian religion doesn't exist. And it's not that far off. All these religions will disappear. Like, just everything will go south. I mean, you'll see, dramatic transformations in the next just hundreds of years. Never mind thousands. And so 10,000 years from now, no one will know any of this stuff. Like, these languages won't exist anymore. English won't be spoken anymore. Right? Like, there'll be no countries that exist now. The names of the countries won't be the same. 10,000 years. There'll be a time there'll be no life on planet Earth. None of this shit fucking matters, right? You guys don't want to be Judas famous or Adolf famous. Like, she's silly. Like, she's just, she's so dramatic. And so, it's self-important. It's not this, there's nothing here. Right? She's like, oh, I'm going to bring it on. This stupid shit. I mean, I'm glad that they're imploding because they're horrible. And, I didn't know anything about them, before Charlie Kirk was killed. But I'm glad it's imploding because it's bad shit. It's like evil stuff. It's evil because they are using the word of the name of God and the idea of God in a fucking political, evil, shekel taken way. That's all it is. All right. So here's my voiceover finally. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is Sunday, October 26th. This will be the introduction voiceover to the 227th edition of the Journey series. I might put this at the end of a video coming out on Tuesday, perhaps. I think probably that'll happen, but we'll know. Definitely this will be in the Journey series. So there's a Whispers of the Brighter World I want to get to here. This is, just hide the bar. Now they have an AI bar on fucking Adobe. But anyways, Wednesday, October 11th, 2000, 10 a.m. The spirit of Sajmarg will live on no matter what happens. There is nothing to worry about on this. Do not let yourself be disturbed by politics in this country. What is good always ends up prevailing. Eddies are useful. They sweep away what is undesirable. Our way is supported by the higher authorities, and it will continue in spite of the madness of humans. Take refuge in this inner space where all is beauty. Disregard the world of which surrounds you. Noticing how it is will not change it. Which is an important thing, for truthers to think about, right? Take refuge in the inner space. Disregard the world around that surrounds you. Noticing how it is will not change it. Contribute to making it advance by doing increasingly refined work on yourself. A luminous work is rising in your heart. Let it be open out completely to the divine presence. Be more and more aware of this unique gift being given to human beings of goodwill. This omnipresence is in them is the most precious asset they can have. It does not come easily. A human being must search for it and deserve it. Your fellow humans will often lose sight of this objective and let themselves be seduced by the false attractions of this world. It's not easy to resist the temptation of an effortless life and its deceptive appearances. Letting oneself be carried away by these kind of human inclinations only bring disturbances and a feeling of frustration. And if such is your case, it is time to react by opening your eyes to the realities of life. I want to go point by point through this thing. So the first part is why I wanted to read this message, but all of it is important. Some of it's for truthers and some of it's for people who do Sajmark. And so for those of you who are, most of you probably aware of this, but there have been 4 masters in the Sajmark system. The 4th master, the 4th president, I don't know if you could call him a master, just absolutely failed. He just absolutely whiffed. And, not just whiffed, he went corrupt and got really stupid. It was a bummer. And so the reason that this is a problem in the Sajmark system is because they seem to have cracked the code by having the essence. Like every spiritual movement, there is a desire for a successor. Every spiritual master, every saint, every higher developed soul wants to leave behind somebody that is, carries on this spiritual energy. They're going to be a different person with a different personality, but have the essence of that spirit live on, in the Christ, right? Jesus the Christ, and then Peter the Christ, and then every pope after that. Except Jesus didn't have the capacity to be able to create within his disciples the essence of his own accomplishments. And his accomplishments were, there was still a lot more for him to go on his spiritual journey. And so there was problems with Christianity that you see. And in every religious tradition, every spiritual tradition, there is this idea of being able to pass on the essence, the Buddha, the essence of Buddha, the whatever their phraseology in their particular religion, and there's, spin-off religions in that religion as well, but be able to pass on the essence. In the Sajmark system, there are these 13 yatra points which your soul goes through, and not only the successor of the master, but all the people who are into it, they will go somewhere down the road in these 13 spiritual points, the yatra points. And so there's the heart region, the mind region, and the central region. There's 5 points in the heart region, 5 points in the mind region, and 3 in the central region. So there are people who make it into the central region, and with each of these points, there are various things that go along with it. But for the majority of people who don't become the master, they don't need to have these points completely charged with spiritual energy, and they don't need to have experience of these points to the same level as the succeeding master, right? But after that journey is completed, then the successor is giving a sitting where the master of the system, the master of Sajmark system, transmit his own essence into his disciple. And so these meditations, this spiritual energy. And so this is how the master, the so-called master, was supposed to be kept alive and kept going, right? So the first master, Lalaji, he had about 200 followers, 200 people that came to his house. And people came to his house and he imparted spiritual training. There were no fees, there was no organization, there was no titles. people just recognized he lived in a small village in northern India, not known for spirituality. He was born a Hindu, but he learned from some Sufi, Muslims have the Sufi saints that have penetrated to a spiritual level. They're the spiritual wing of the Muslim tradition. So he learned some spiritual training from them, but mostly he just, was able to connect to God directly. And then his name was Ramchandra, the second master of the system. Actually, somebody said that their wife was starting to practice gratefulness meditation, wanted to know about the masters. So this actually worked out, just in terms of, I'll include this in my regular videos because, this is part of it. So Lalaji was born in a rural village in Fatehgarh, which is, just not a nice place, right? I'm sure it's even kind of worse today. And it's just it's a poor village in northern India. And right next to that village was this village called Shahjahanpur. And another guy named Ramchandra, they both had the same name. And both of these guys worked in courtrooms. They were educated. And so Lalaji was born into a rich family, and then he lost his dad lost all his money because they had a British Raj who just basically stole it. And so his dad basically died of like a heartbreak, and Lalaji's mom died shortly after he was born, or after his brother was born or something like this. So his mother died like when he was 7 or 8 or something. And his dad was dead, and he was like married when he was 14, to some, they had these childhood marriages where they would just be, or arranged marriages. And the guy, he didn't have anything. He was educated because his dad had money. And so he was fluent in a couple different languages, and he ended up being a court clerk. But he was completely broke when he was a young man, right? He went from being someone who was rich, and their lifestyle as a rich person in India in the late 1800s wasn't the same. And so this guy Babaji came from a family with money. I think his dad was a lawyer. He was educated, but he stopped doing education because he wanted to be an original thinker. He also worked as a court clerk, a babu, so they called him Babaji, right? And he met Lalaji only 7 times in his life, and he didn't stand out. He was a very small person. He was about 5'2", like 115, 120 pounds, just a slight person. And he was like the spiritual phenom. He was Patanjali in a past life, the father of modern yoga, Ashtanga yoga. And for 13 years after Lalaji died, he intercommuned with him, and Lalaji brought him through all these spiritual points and then transmitted his essence from the brighter world. So this is what gives people hope now in the Sajmark system. And there was only a handful of people left from Lalaji's days by then, and one of them announced that Babaji was his successor. And from there Babaji grew the mission through word of mouth, mostly around India, but he traveled to America and Europe and started following people who met him. He was like Yoda-esque. He was like a Yoda type of a person, spoken these sort of, like an example of that was he started to register this organization, Sajmarg, in these various places around the world, registering it as a, religious spiritual organization. And when he was at Europe, it was all these boomer hippies who were rebelling against Christianity and organized religion. They didn't want an organized religion. They liked to be in grassroots, which it, still was. And so somebody asked him, why do you want to be organized? And he said, because I don't want to be disorganized, right? Things like this. And somebody asked him about, can you prove God? Does God exist? And he said, who is this God who is not, right? Things like that. But he wasn't a good public speaker. He was very simple, probably was dyslexic or something like that. And he wasn't good at the business end of the thing or the organization part of it. And so in 1964, he had been around as master. The organization had been around since 1945. He had a successor, which is Master Charji, the guy I knew, who was a much different person. He was well-educated, Western educated. He came from a Brahmin family in southern India, which was, the other two guys were from like a warrior class that usually didn't produce gurus, or, the Brahmins have a lot of gurus and teachers and politicians and things like that. They're well-educated. And Charji was, he was a salesman. He rose up to a high-ranking like a CEO of some plastic company in India. You know, he was a successful businessman. He was good at a lot of things, and he was just very adept spiritually. He had been a disciple of Patanjali in a past life, so he had association with the soul of Babaji, and he also had been St. Paul in a previous life. And they traveled together, and he would sort of embellish. Babaji would speak in small sentences, right? He wasn't a person who would talk for, doing what I do here. He wasn't somebody who would, he would be very simple in his speech and his approach to life. And Sharji would take a few sentences from Babaji and explain them, in 15, 20-minute talks and things like this. And they traveled around Europe and America together. And they were in Copenhagen, Denmark, which was there are a lot of people in Denmark that really like this meditation. And when they were in the airport, Babaji transmitted his essence to him in one of these meditations, these sittings. We sit 5 feet apart, and this transmission is given. These cleanings are given to the practitioner of the system. And he transmitted his essence into Charji. And so that was this epic, Charji kept all this down in his diaries and things. And, so there was this element of a continuation of the system. So the fourth master of the system, Daji, there was another guy who was nominated, and his life was threatened, and people were like pretty dickish to him. And there was sort of an inner circle around Charji. Charji's health was failing. And so that guy quit. He gave it up. And then another guy was made into the master, this guy, Kamlesh Patel, who I had pretty good experiences with. He was a good practitioner of the system. He lived in America. He was a pharmacist. But he just shit the bed. Like, he became really stupid and really corrupt. And even though I saw the work was done for him, like all the spiritual work, I saw him become the master. It just didn't take. And I've documented his corruption, the stupidity behind it, just how it was just really bad. And so, this continuation of this essence being passed down from one master to another was broken. And, now it's like, well, there's still the transmission. People experience this stuff on the Gratefullness meditation channel that I've created here. And I do sittings as I once was a preceptor and this other stuff. And so, it's still here, and it's still, there was this previous 13-year absence from the first master to the second master, and he was able to connect through the brighter world, and there might be some other ways that the system could survive, so it's not like it's unheard of. But, the problem was, Charji was like this epic human being. Like, I can't even explain how much work, his capacity for work, and his commitment, and his, just his attention to detail, and what kind of person he was, right? But, he had to micromanage all the dumb fucks, like all the people. And there were lots of them, and there was just, lots of people who wanted to do stupid shit. And, he controlled everything because he couldn't turn things over to people because they'd wreck it like it's happened now. And, I thought about all the other potential candidates, people who might be able to take over this position. And I don't see anybody that could have. Because, Charji, his life was threatened. There was some properties involved. Babaji had one ashram when he died. And there was some organization. There was about 5,000 or 10,000 people who did it. Some people in, various countries, a couple hundred people in America doing the meditation. A couple hundred in various places in Europe. Maybe 1,000 across Europe. And, 3,000 or 4,000 people in India. And when Sharji took over, he was, very popular in South India because he was Brahmin. And there was over 20,000 people just in Chennai alone, maybe even more. And he grew the system. He traveled 200 days a year, spent lots of time in America and in Europe and all these places. And so there was probably about 200,000 people in multiple ashrams, probably worth like $500 million, like, acres of land and all through volunteer donations and things like this. And so he was able to manage all these things. But when he took over, he got poisoned by some people who wanted to kill him for, there was a lot of people that disliked him. They didn't want him to be the master of the system. He had a guy show up with a gun, try to kill him. People just were resentful, didn't like him. Took a long time for people to accept him. A lot of people quit. And, there was people who wanted, even when Babaji took over philology had to protect him on a spiritual level and warn him these people were trying to kill him. And there's only 200 fucking people, right? I mean, so, there's, and a lot of people wanted to, move this into a materialistic religious thing. There was people around Chargy that were absolute pieces of shit that Chargy called out in an epic talk I've played here. It's been on this thing a few times. I've showed it. People have seen it in various. It exists on the Sajmark's channel and other places, the official Sajmark channel. But he talked about how these people in the inner circle were absolute pieces of shit. Like he was just unloaded on them towards the end of his life. So, with all that and the fact that there's, now $1 billion worth of properties, there really wasn't anybody who could take over the mission and deal with all the fucking, things just get shitty the more people you get, unfortunately. People don't make things better. There's the original people, like there's the original guy, and there's the original, like with Jesus, the 12 disciples, and there's some other people here or there, and then, by the time you get into like 1 million or 1 billion Christians, it's pretty shitty. The organization's shitty. It's now completely watered down, and it's pandering to the dumb fucks and all that stuff. And so, there really wasn't a good person to be a successor. The people would have chewed him up, and nobody wanted to take on Chargy when he was a full-fledged master, like he had developed into a master. So this guy Dodgy, although he shouldn't be let off the hook, there really wasn't a solution here. So who knows how it's going to go in the future? But right now it looks doubtful, like it's completely blind faith, because the organization just, I can't even explain how bad it's gotten. So when he says this, the spirit of Sajmark will live on no matter what happens. So, like, the essence of this will still be here. It's just up to people to pick it up. It's up for people to get it on their own without an organization. There's things like I'm doing with the Gratefullness meditation and word of mouth, but also people are just going to have to connect directly, which is what we've done with the Gratefullness thing. There's nothing to worry about this. Do not let yourself be disturbed by politics in this country. This woman who takes down these messages is in France, and there was a Sajmark made it on the cult list, and so it was a bad time there for that. What is good always ends up prevailing. Eddies are useful. They are swept away. They sweep away what is undesirable. Our way is supported by the higher authorities, and it will continue in spite of the madness of humans. Well, I think this is a long-term project that's supposed to span 10 or 20,000 years, which is, the longest of any kind of spiritual organization, this kind of movement. So it might take 10 or 20,000 years for everybody to rise up to this level. It might take people maybe 15, 20 lives of doing it before they really get it and they're able to move forward and like raise their level of consciousness. So that's that part. Take refuge in this inner space where all is beauty. Disregard the world which surrounds you. Noticing how it is will not change it. And I say this a lot to people in the truth community, that, we're in the automatic phase. Everything's going to happen. It's already happened in the future. There's no blocking it. There's no stopping it. But we can, prepare for what's happening internally and also externally. A luminous day is rising in your heart. Let it open out completely to the divine presence. Be more and more aware of this unique gift being given to human beings of goodwill. The omnipresence, the omnipresence in them is the most precious asset they can have. It does not come easily. A human being must search for it and deserve it. That speaks for itself. People need to embrace their inner, their potential saint within, this soul within, the master within. Your fellow humans often lose sight of this objective and let themselves be seduced by false attractions of this world. Again, we all know that. It's not easy to resist the temptation of effortless life and its deceptive appearances. We all understand that. Let oneself be carried away by these kinds of human inclinations only brings disturbances and a feeling of frustration. Everybody probably understands that. If such is your case, it's time to react by opening your eyes to the realities of life, Babaji. these messages and the transmission is given to everybody. When Chargy once said that there was all these disembodied souls that used to come to gatherings and, higher developed souls that would to receive the transmission from, disembodied souls that were like angels and higher developed souls, because it's just a unique situation what's being given here. In the Sajmar, Gratefulness Meditation, it's linked in the description box of all of my videos. And so, like the transmission is there for everybody. These messages were given to this woman, but they were there for everybody. Like everybody received them, whether, they were able to connect with them or not. And so these messages are, messages coming from what's called the brighter world, whispers of the brighter world from, what people think about in terms of heaven, but it's, heaven is not an accurate description of what happens there. But, this is all there for everybody. So why doesn't everybody pick up on it? Why is, people not embrace it, right? People come to this channel, and some people like the comedy, like me mocking people, like this stuff. Some people don't like it at all. The majority of people come and go. The majority of people that have, I've had millions of viewers here. I've had 100 and something, 200 million views or something like that, maybe more. Some of my videos have been deleted, so those videos don't count. But I have, 100, at least 150 million views or something here. And then I have so many different people, some of those views are repetitive views, who come here and they hear something and they get pissed off, they don't like it, and they leave. Or some people who, they just don't get it, most people, 90%. But then the people who do, and in that there's a small group of people that feel the spiritual energy, and there's the part of them that want to get into it, and so it's just a fraction of the people that come through this channel. And, I think there's a lot of smart people, a lot of developed people that come here. And so I think it's, I think I get less dumbfucked than the average person. People in truth community, true truthers are, cut above the average person. And so in terms of their consciousness level. And so it's a real tragedy for humanity that people just don't get into it. Anyways, okay, so the next message looks promising as well. Friday, October 13th, 2010 a.m. Our way is acquiring a new status which will enable it to a certain extent, to balance the negative powers that are rampant all over the world. This century will long be a transitional period. Again, this is in 2000. A balance should be established and hatred between peoples calm down. A major cleaning is necessary to soften the customs of those who are the most determined to harm and destroy what doesn't resemble them. So that is supposed to happen this century. There's prophecies in there about that. A complete, World War III nightmare, cataclysms, upheavals. Only love can soothe resulting injuries. It's heartbreaking to see how the same events reoccur periodically. Learn to master your thoughts so they emit in vibrations of peace and love. It is your only recourse in this dilemma, where old hatreds are maintained in these countries close to yours, which risk destabilizing peace in Europe. Do your best with means at your disposal. You are peace soldiers. You have our blessings, Babaji. So, something, right? That, speaks for itself. There's one more that goes along with this from that period. Thursday, October 12th, 2000, same time period, 10 a.m. The human being often ventures on tortuous paths before taking the right direction. This is a human characteristic. A person must find the way after many experiences, sometimes painful. This is how the personality is forged, which leads each one to seek a truth that starts to be obvious to them. A person feels that this lack comes from a life centered on materialism. Their deepest being is in need. They aspire to fill this void through a pursuit and an understanding that can satisfy them. That is the start of a quest that can bring a person to the highest level. If their aspiration is strong enough, each one receives what they are able to receive. A sincere, constant call must be made so that it can be heard, and then the way will open up before the person and will be adapted to their level of evolution. Perhaps they will reach us. Do you realize how lucky you are? To be on a path with few constraints, which makes you advance without requiring great efforts, is this not a grace? There is every hope for you. If you take your work to heart, we do everything possible to meet your expectations. We see the heart of your hearts, and they receive according to their capacity. 5 p.m. meditation in parentheses. It is a very necessary evil. It is necessary to answer evil with love. Sajmarg is entering a new era whose effects will not be felt immediately. Its strength will manifest itself more and more in the future, Babaji. So, there's that. All right, let me wrap this one up here.